right, it looks like we have all the crew here tonight, so I'm going to call to order the Monday, January 11th, 2021 Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We're going to begin with a roll call. Mayor Mike Fournier, present from Royal Oak. Commissioner Macy.
Present in Royal Oak.
Commissioner Perush.
Here in Royal Oak.
Commissioner Dubak.
I am present in Royal Oak.
Commissioner Colo.
Present by the green screen in Royal Oak.
Commissioner Douglas.
Present in Royal Oak.
And Ms. Hunt, soon to be Commissioner Hunt.
Good afternoon or evening, present.
All right, well, we got a full 7 tonight. We're going to begin with an invocation given by Commissioner Macy, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And then afterwards, we'll be having the swearing in of City Commissioner Monica Hunt. So Commissioner Macy.
So I'd like to welcome our soon-to-be Commissioner Monica Hunt and say how pleased we are to have her join this body. I know we will be better for the wisdom, experience, and compassion that she's bringing to the table. And I know we'll need them all to face the challenges of 2021. We were all hoping for a fresh start this year, still shaking from having our world turned upside down over and over again in 2020. So these new shocks we are experiencing already are too likely to just knock us off our feet. And I don't have helpful words to add to the flood of words coming out of last week. We're all horrified and shaken and angry, confused. So instead, I'm stealing the words and sharing a poem from Maya Angelou that spoke to me in the moment we're in. It serves as both inspiration and instructions for people out in the world who are choosing right every day, but starting to feel helpless in the face of fear and anger and loneliness that's growing in our world. What can we even do? How can we move forward? So Continue by Maya Angelou. Into a world which needed you, my wish for you is that you continue. Continue to be who and how you are, to astonish a mean world with your acts of kindness. Continue to allow humor to lighten the burden of your tender heart. Continue in a society dark with cruelty to let the people hear the grandeur of God and the peal of your laughter. Continue to let your eloquence elevate the people to heights they had only imagined. Continue to remind the people that each is as good as the other and that no one is beneath nor above you. Continue to remember your own young years and look with favor upon the lost and the least and the lonely. Continue to put the mantle of your protection around the bodies of the young and defenseless. Continue to take the hand of the despised and diseased and walk proudly with them in the high street. Some might see you and be encouraged to do likewise. Continue to plant a public kiss of concern on the cheek of the sick and the aged and infirm, and count that as a natural action to be expected. Continue to let gratitude be the pillow upon which you kneel to say your nightly prayer, and let faith be the bridge you build to overcome evil and welcome good. Continue to ignore no vision which comes to enlarge your range and increase your spirit. Continue to dare to love deeply and risk everything for the good thing. Continue to float happily in the sea of infinite substance which set aside riches for you before you had a name. Continue, and by doing so, you and your work will be able to continue eternally. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Macy. Will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I ask that you stand if you can.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, got a touchy screen here today. Thank you, Commissioner Macy. All right, this brings us to number 4 on our agenda tonight. Ms. Hunt, soon to be Commissioner Hunt, is here for her swearing in. I know under these pandemic times, it's been a challenge to do these things, and they're always such a remarkable event when we do them in person, such an inspiring moment. We're going to do the best we can, Ms. Hunt, and I know we have the Honorable Derek Meineke here present tonight somewhere on my very large screen of individuals. Oh, I see him now. And I'm gonna turn over the this agenda item to him right now. to begin the process and get you on board as soon as we can, Ms. Hunt, and then we'll open it up for a couple comments here.
Well,
Mike.
thank you, Mayor Fournier, and it is always a pleasure to be able to attend these events. I appreciate the invitation. It is a special event. I had the opportunity, I think just this past October, to swear in Commissioner Colo, and you put it so well, Mayor Fournier. These are Ms. Hunt, soon to be Commissioner Hunt. These are celebrations. These are appropriate moments to remember, because there's a great commitment that you're making tonight. And I think it's particularly symbolic as we celebrate our city's 100th anniversary, that we remember the men and women who have sat in the seat that you're about to occupy and got us here to this point in our city's history, and recognize the great achievements, but what work still needs to be done. And it's going to take that same sort of perseverance and dedication and determination to continue to help this community grow and get us to that place where we all want this community to be, a place where everyone feels safe and heard and recognized. I'm excited to welcome you to this body. I'm excited to have the opportunity to administer the oath, and I look forward to the good work that you will do as our next commissioner. So Ms. Hunt, if you please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Monica Hunt,
I, Monica Hunt,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and I will faithfully perform
and I will faithfully perform
the duties
the duties
of the office
of the office
of City Commissioner
of City Commissioner
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Welcome, Commissioner Hunt.
It is such a challenge because there's nothing quite like offering a handshake celebration, and so we're stuck with a virtual one at this time. But I hope that still the words that I can offer are at least some form of substitute for my genuine congratulations at your accomplishment and appreciation for your willingness to serve. Because in the end, there was a call and you answered that call, and there's work to be done. Welcome, Commissioner Hunt.
Absolutely. Thank you, Your Honor.
And thank you, Judge Meineke, for your efforts here tonight, and always a great orator in Judge Meineke. Ms. Hunt, we're incredibly grateful to have you as part of the team and representing the amazing city that Royal Oak is. And with that, not only comes excitement, but great expectations. So we know you're up for the challenge. We're very excited about what's to come. And like Judge Meineke said, the willingness to serve these days, and this also goes into a lot of the school board members that are on this meeting tonight. You know, it's challenging. The internet, cable news, people's attention span, the ability to spread, information, to take character assassination on, and everything that comes with this job is increasingly being put into the spotlight. And so the challenges are real, and we're just so grateful that even in the light of those challenges and what we see going on in the world today, you're still willing to serve, and will make Royal Oak better and leave your fingerprint on this community for lifetimes to come. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, now we officially have 7. So Commissioner Cole gets into a 3-3 deadlock very often now. All right. Okay. All right. This brings us to item number 5, which is a presentation of the 2020 Voter Challenge, Check to the Royal Oak Animal Shelter. See, Dr. Pernick is here, as well as our professional manager of the Royal Oak Animal Shelter, Ms. Jody Ellison. I'll hand it over to you two to discuss the challenge and the outcome. Dr. Pernick?
Yeah, well, thank you. I don't have any actual check. I mailed it, so I don't know who's going to be getting it, but you can use your imagination. So this is the second year I've done it. The idea is that to echo the words in the invocation, and we're a group. It's hard to know what we all could do at a big level, but one of the things we could do is to vote and encourage people to participate in government, participate in public institutions, and that's what I tried to do with this challenge, to award the cities I'm in Huntington Woods, but there's 8 communities in our next door group, to give them an incentive for people to get involved and to vote and to give prizes to the cities. So Royal Oak, one of those prizes of $250, and they dedicated their charity to be the animal shelter. So I was pleased to award them that, and they won the $250. They didn't win the voter turnout that's usually Huntington Woods. It was once again this year. I've had people say that the number is favorite for whatever reason. The mayor of Pleasant Ridge thinks that somehow our registration numbers are off. I don't know, but anyway, Royal Oak had over 75%, and so I'm pleased to give them a check for $250, and I hope you use it well.
Wonderful, Dr. Pernick. And we can't thank you enough for your support of putting a challenge out there in such an important time right now, to get people activated, to get people out there and exercise their right to vote. And I know Ms. Ellison has done an amazing job at the animal shelter, and yet there's always more we need to make sure that facility is operating to the best of its ability. And although she's done an amazing job, every dollar that can be brought into that facility under the management of Ms. Ellison will be put to really good use and really help our four-legged furry friends in the community, which I feel Royal Oak is one of those animal cities. You just can't get away from it. We love our animals here in Royal Oak. Like I said, she's done a really good job finding homes for these animals and taking care of them when they, are in transition. So thank you so much. And I don't know, Ms. Ellison, do you have anything that you want to add on behalf of the animal shelter?
Oh, you know me, I will always happily chime in. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Fournier. Thank you, commissioners. And Dr. Pernick, thank you so much. We really and truly appreciate it. As Mayor Fournier said, we can always use the funds to put to good use. Right now, we're in a bit of a holding pattern like a lot of people. We're continuing the work that we do every day with maintaining, caring for the animals, taking in animals, especially animals whose families maybe have been victimized by the pandemic. So that's what we're focusing a lot on these days. In the future, hopefully when things settle down and we get this under control, I have a lot of really exciting projects that I would like to see move forward to bring our tiny little shelter up to absolute best practices, to make it this shining little gem of an animal shelter that the entire area will be proud of and thrilled with. And every penny that we have that comes in that helps toward that, we truly appreciate. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Any questions?
Anybody need a dog or cat? I have an application. I can send you an application. So.
Do you have any pigs available, Jody?
Oh, you're hilarious. Well, we're fostering one at the current moment, but yes, no others, just that one.
Well, Jody, the only question we have, maybe it's more of a comment, just keep up the good work. Thank you to you and all the volunteers at the Royal Oak Animal Shelter.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'd also like to do a huge shout out to my staff. They have been remarkable during this entire thing. They are tireless and they are professional and they come in with a smile on their face every day. I am so proud of each of them.
Very good. And Dr. Pernick, thank you again for your challenge. We hope to win the crown next.
There you go. That's great.
Coming out of the gate, we're already thinking up how we outperform ourselves. So, we'll see you again next time.
Sounds great. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Pernick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. All right. This brings us to item number 6, a pretty exciting proclamation honoring Royal Oak's centennial celebration this year. As you know, we're moving forward with Centennial Commons in the downtown, and that wasn't just by accident. The timing happened to work out where our city is celebrating its 100th anniversary. So we've read a lot of proclamations up here over the years. It's rare to actually read one to ourselves. So I guess I'm reading this to everybody here on the Zoom, as well as every resident and past resident and future resident of Royal Oak, to accept this proclamation on behalf of the commission and mayor. So I'm going to read it, and then we'll open it up for any comments. So this is a proclamation honoring Royal Oak's centennial celebration year. Whereas the city of Royal Oak was designated a city in 1921 and is celebrating its 100th anniversary. And whereas in its first 100 years has transformed from a vibrant village into the 8th largest city in Oakland County, covering 12 square miles with nearly 60,000 residents calling Royal Oak home. And whereas diversity is valued as the engine of progress in Royal Oak with the implementation of the Human Rights Ordinance and designation of welcoming city to emphasize the community's strong belief of inclusion. And whereas Royal Oak is to some of the region's most esteemed attractions and businesses, including the Detroit Zoological Park, Beaumont Hospital, Oakland Community College, and historic churches, including National Basilica. And whereas Royal Oak can boast about our outstanding public library, excellent schools, and over 50 parks for residents and visitors alike to enjoy the outdoors in a variety of ways, whether golfing, playing soccer, softball, tennis, or just taking a stroll. And whereas the downtown combines an eclectic blend of shops, restaurants, sidewalk cafes, and entertainment landmarks, which make downtown Royal Oak a popular and in-demand place to be. And whereas Royal Oak recognizes the importance of arts and culture to sustain a vibrant, healthy lifestyle for our residents and visitors, and through the establishment of the Commission for the Arts, engages in the public and private display of art, interactive art installations like Sharing the Warmth and the public piano program in the summer concert series. And whereas named one of the coolest suburbs in America, Royal Oak is an entertainment epicenter as the home to Main Street Art Theater, Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, the Royal Oak Music Theater, Imagine Theater, and live performances by stagecrafters at the historic Baldwin Theater, consistently referred to as the best place to live for local theater, and cited as the best community theater by Our Magazine. And whereas taking all of this into consideration, it is no surprise Royal Oak has recently been bestowed the following accolades: top 10 most exciting small cities in America, 100 safest cities in America, and best places to live in Michigan. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Mayor Fournier, and the members of the Royal Oak City Commission hereby proudly announce and proclaim that we take pride in Royal Oak. We take pride in all Royal Oak has accomplished in its first century and are pleased to spend this year honoring and celebrating the legacy of Royal Oak while beginning Royal Oak's next 100 years, which, if history proves anything, will be 100 years of growth filled with remarkable achievements. What a great proclamation. What a great summary of what we've achieved in our first 100 years. What a great snapshot in time of where we're at in 100 years. And I'm sure there are 100 more things that we could include in this proclamation. But really, you know, in the end, we have a very strong, vibrant, connected sense of community, which has prompted us to have a really strong, beautiful community. And I can't be any more prouder to read this proclamation and have it be received by everybody that loves our town. And you know, although this year proves to be a little bit more challenging in 2021 to do all the great celebrations and necessary celebrations that we probably should do for a 100-year anniversary, I don't believe in any way that our spirit will be dampened in recognizing our achievements and recognizing that the future is bright for Royal Oak. And we all have a part in that. Every single one of us here on today's call, from the city commission, city staff, the school board, as well as every citizen that calls Royal Oak home. We can't be more proud. Anybody have anything to add about our 100 years? Any commissioners? Commissioner Dubuck.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it was a wonderful proclamation. I'm excited to, get into the we can't do the public festivities, but have Centennial Park, see some construction this year. I'm wondering if we're going to be hearing at a meeting from Ms. Davids about the Sharing Your Royal Oak story, or is that something I should just plug right now?
Oh, excellent point. Plug it right now, Commissioner Dubuck.
Sure. So if folks haven't seen on social media, in celebration of our centennial, the city is collecting people's Royal Oak history, your Royal Oak stories, going back as far back as you can remember or have photographs of, or family history to share. We're inventorying that on the website and sharing it on social media. So I just want to encourage people to take part in this, online celebration, although we can't, to be together physically right now to celebrate our 100 years. I think it's a wonderful and creative way to celebrate and recognize 100 years of our city. So hope everyone will check that out.
Thank you, Commissioner Dubuck. Anybody else? We got to do a big scan here. All right, what a great opportunity, like Commissioner Dubuck said, to kind of catalog and bring up to speed our history for future generations, in this new way. Better, it beats going to the library and looking at microfiche, although they've done major advancements in how we how we do that online.
It's been greatly improved, Mr. Mayor.
It has. All right. Okay. Give me a second here. We have a couple other very important proclamations here tonight. We also have the proclamation honoring the Volunteer Board of Education members. Before I read this proclamation, and my screen is shifting all around here, I'm going to ask to see if the board members that are present and the future board members will take a moment to be recognized, and just state your name, if you want to state a little bit about yourself, that's great too. And I don't know if Ms. Anderson or Ms. Van Heetsma wants to start and maybe kind of go through the list. I see Ms. Van Heetsma. All right, Marianne.
Someone always has to start, right? Mary Ann Van Heitzma. I was just reelected to the school board for my next 4-year term, so I'm very excited about it. And I think we all understand the challenges of 2020 for educators, and we're so grateful to have the educators that we do in our district that have worked so hard to continue to engage our students, which is an amazing task this year. We're grateful to all of you parents as well for being the educator support, and sometimes the educators. It's certainly not an easy year. I've been part of the city for over 20 years. I'm excited about the 100-year celebration. Active in PTAs, and it's 100 years of Royal Oak PTAs too. So we're very excited about a lot of the celebrations that'll happen this year in Royal Oak, virtual or in person, whatever we can do. So I'm just grateful to all of you for the work that you do to help our city as well. And just a big thank you to educators, administrators, and our families. Thank you so much.
All right, I see Ms. Anderson.
Hi, I'm Deb Anderson. I've been on the school board since 2006. Lived in Royal Oak since 1980, so I've been here a while. And it has been a challenging year, but it's always really an honor to continue serving on the board. And I welcome our new board members. I think we're going to get a lot done. But I really appreciate this proclamation because it shows how intertwined we are, the city, the schools, to form a strong community. So thank you very much.
Anderson, I see Mr. Cardamone.
Yes, Marty Cardamone. I've been a board member since 2008. I too appreciate the proclamation you're about to bestow upon us. It's very thankful to be recognized, especially in this year that's been somewhat challenging. Look forward to working with our new colleagues. I'm sure you guys are looking forward to your newest colleague too. So let's plow through and carry on, folks.
Thank you, Marty. Ms. Haynes.
Hi, my name's Lisa Haynes, and I've been a school board trustee for 11 days now. So very excited. Um, just a great experience so far. Met some great new friends during the campaign, and just looking forward to taking care of our kids. That's what it's all about, and supporting our teachers. And I think if we can do that well, then we've done a good job. And of course, I'm always excited to be hanging out with the city commission. So I just think all in all, this is a great group of people and feel very blessed to have lived in the city just over 21 years now. So thanks.
Ms. Alexander.
Hi, Erica Alexander. I have also newly elected school board trustee. So like Lisa, 11 days. And I'm looking forward to becoming a part of this team and excited to be here. I am a 17-year resident and I have a daughter at the middle school.
Well, thank you, Erica. Mr. Chikarsky, Tim.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Tim Jaworski. I also was just elected, taking office on the 1st of January. I feel like I'm the new kid on the block here. I've only been here for 13 years, which is a long time, but not as long as everybody else. Yeah, I really appreciate the proclamation and the resolution to the school board. I more so appreciate the proclamation that will follow to the educators of the district. They're truly the ones that make things happen. I'm very excited to work with my 6 colleagues on the school board and also with the city commission. I think the 7 of us and all of you together are going to make the city greater than it is. And it is already great. So we've got some work cut out for us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Al. Did I miss anybody here? I can't. I'm sure. Oh, Miss Sykes, sorry.
Me, yep. I'm Allison Sykes, starting my 7th year on the school board. I can't remember what year I started, so it's one of those, but after a first kid's graduation, we've lived here 27 years. We have 2 kids that went through Royal Oak schools from K to 12 and had great experiences all the way through. And it's really nice to help give some back to the next generation coming up.
Wonderful, thank you. So before I read this proclamation, I'll just preface it with some, comments that, my wife and I have 3 kids in Royal Oak schools, and I know we have a number of other commissioners, Commissioner Dubuck, Commissioner Macy, Commissioner Colo, and even over the years, Commissioner Perush's children have gone through the schools and maybe even her grandchildren. And we know the task that you've been challenged with just in general. It is becoming ever more difficult to be into public service. It's becoming ever more difficult to manage expectations of many different opinions about how education should be administered and what policies you should put in place. And these are real issues that, we're grappling with across the country that you're challenged with. And certainly with the pandemic, you guys have tough decisions, and no matter what you do, you're never going to make 100% of everyone happy. And the fact that you guys are working together, you will work together on behalf of, and I'm not talking as a mayor here, but on behalf of, as a father, that you're working on behalf of our children and my kids and everyone else's kids. We're really grateful for the job you do. It's tough. It's tough, especially doing this from a public service perspective. Royal Oak schools aren't a for-profit school. We can't do things behind closed doors and whatnot. You have to be accountable to making the best decisions and best votes that you can. And we owe you a lot of gratitude because, as tough as our job is on the commission dealing with the pandemic, I know you guys have and will continue to have really tough decisions ahead of you. And just God bless you. It's a tough job. And so, we've been doing this for a number of years now, and I think this year it's even has an extra weight of meaningness to it. This is a proclamation honoring Royal Oak School District Board of Education. Whereas January is a school board recognition month and is therefore a time to salute the work of volunteer school board members and to celebrate public education. And whereas a community governed and public education has been called the backbone of American democracy and indeed one of the very foundations of our democratic society. And whereas publicly elected members of the Royal Oak Board of Education ensure that decisions on school programming, properties, and facilities represent our community's values, culture, and circumstances. And whereas the school board members in Royal Oak are responsible for the education of approximately 5,000 students and oversee almost 500 employees in the annual operating budget. And whereas this year, more than any time in our recent past, school board members have the challenge of wading through uncertain and unprecedented times due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas decisions made with the latest information in an evolving situation, always made with the health and safety of all students and employees at the forefront. And whereas we acknowledge and thank Jeff Brinker, Gary Briggs, and Carrie Beer for their outstanding service to the district and wish them well in their future endeavors as they conclude with their tenure with the Royal Oak School Board. And whereas we welcome Erica Alexander, Tim Chikorsky, and Lisa Haynes as newly elected members to join Deb Anderson, Marty Cardamone, Allison Sykes, and Marianne Vehatsma, and have in these 7 individuals the confidence that they will continue the inspired work of the previous board and will lead the community through the pandemic and create a future filled with boundless possibilities for Royal Oak students. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Mayor Mike Fournier, and the members of the Royal Oak City Commission expresses appreciation and gratitude on behalf of the entire community to the volunteer members of the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education for everything they do to make the schools and the entire community an educated and enlightened place to live. Thank you. Yeah, we'll give a clap for that one. All right, any city commissioners have anything to add? Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I want to echo the words of the mayor and just show my great and deep appreciation for all of you, Dr. Fitzpatrick and every board member here, and the 3 board members who just recently retired. I think it's really telling when you ask people what's really important with this city. And we even saw this on a lot of applications to be city commissioner. Almost everyone's going to tell you how important the schools are to a city. And not many people, when they're talking to a city commissioner, will realize that we have absolutely nothing to do over that. I mean, there's nothing we can do to impact the schools. We can make this place a great place to live, but it's upon all of you to make sure our children are educated. We have world-class educational institutions, and you're doing it. I mean, you manage a budget, I think it's $52 million a year. I mean, that is a lot of money to make sure the children in our city, and it's a lot of money, but not nearly enough, that's for sure. But it's you have a very formidable job to make sure that the children of our city are on the right path. So thank you. I know this week will be another challenging week. I'm sure you will have a lot of heated calls and a lot of a big decision to make on the future of the school year. But I appreciate the decisions you're making, and the best of luck in all your new terms.
Thank you, Commissioner Cole. Commissioner Dubon.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say greatly respect the service and grateful for the service of the outgoing members, and congratulations to all the newly elected members, and good luck to all newly elected and currently serving members. Look forward to working with you and partnering with you. I serve on city school liaison, so I'm sure I'll be seeing some of you on a somewhat regular basis. We're all working through this pandemic together, and building a brighter future for the next generation, 3 of which I have in the school system. So very much involved and personally invested in the work you're doing. So if there's anything I can do to help or anything the city can do to help partner, we're here for that. Thank you all and good luck.
Commissioner Macy.
Just echoing the thanks for this. This is a challenging task in the best of years. There's always going to be some situations and some families and some parents that are coming to challenge and question, and I've been one of those parents, as you may recall. And I really appreciate all of you putting your heart and soul into this for our children, for my children. So best of luck to you. I'm hoping for the best for this year, and easier times ahead when we get past this pandemic. Good luck.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, we're placing our trust with you. We're placing our children with you. Hopefully the most challenging thing you have in 2021, 2022 is the Macy, Dubuque, and Fournier kids causing a little bit of ruckus at your schools, and you got to figure out how to handle it at the board level. But other than that, we wish you the best of luck, and we know you're going to do a good job. Each of you bring something special literally to the table. And, like Commissioner Dubuque said, if you ever need need anything from this body or any of us individually, we take great pride in our schools, and we'd be happy to step up and help you in your endeavors. So thank you very much. All right. Well, it's not just a board that makes a district. We have a proclamation next that honors all of our wonderful educators and support staff in our schools, and especially during these times when I know firsthand, my wife, full disclosure, is an educator, not in Royal Oak, but in another district. The care and concern that every teacher and every support staff and every cleaning staff and admin staff is putting into figuring out how to best steward our children to the future. And, again, just like the board, now more than ever, I think it's important that we pause and, recognize that our district is amazing. Our educators, our support staff are amazing. They're doing the very best possible job that they can, given some of the most, or if not the most, challenging obstacles. And, we have a proclamation here honoring the professional educators and support staff, again, underscoring their contributions to this community, as well as to the future of all communities. Whereas public education is the foundation for a free, prosperous, and sustainable democracy. And whereas the heart and soul of many communities is their public school district. And whereas the heart and soul of public school district are its many dedicated and professional employees. And whereas administrators, teachers, and support staff working in the Royal Oak Public School District were presented with an extraordinary challenge in March of 2020 to take their entire curriculum and change over in a way to deliver it to students from in-person to online. And whereas this challenge was met with an even more extraordinary response, a mammoth task, which should have taken months of planning, was executed by educators with the support of administrators in a matter of just days. And whereas the contribution to the community to endure the risk of the pandemic on a personal level, while never losing focus on the education of our students, has now more than ever before demonstrated the immense impact and need our community has for administrators, teachers, and their support staff. And whereas for every doctor and nurse treating COVID patients, and for every scientist and doctor studying COVID and developing treatments and the vaccine, there was an educator in their past who inspired and planted the seed of knowledge, allowing them to serve humanity. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Mayor Mike Fournier, and the members of the Royal Oak City Commission express our appreciation and gratitude to our public school employees who create a desire for knowledge in the youth of our community, which allows them to strive for a better future for themselves and all members of the Royal Oak community. So let's give an applause to all of our educators, support staff. And I see Superintendent Fitzpatrick is here to accept this on behalf of our educators and staff. And I'm going to turn it over to her for some words.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and good evening to all our city commissioners. I'm doubly blessed this evening that you're talking about our school board members and those that have left us from the board to move on to other things, and our 3 new members and the 4 that are remaining to work with us in the district. It has been a challenging year. March of 2020 will never be forgotten for a number of reasons, and I'm proud every day of the work of our staff. Your proclamation is well taken, well heard, and I will definitely pass it along to our entire staff. I'm a teacher myself and have been. This is my 35th year in public education. I've never seen anything like this, but the one thing that I started with when I first walked in the classroom till today is that the people that surround us, and it's true in Royal Oak, are there and dedicated for the children. You know, everyone is focused on their students' well-being. And when March hit, you know, we had a number of things to worry about, and the students' well-being, social emotional security, and the friendships that they had made in their classrooms carried them through the end of the year. But at the head of that classroom was every single teacher leading their students and talking with their families. This year has been particularly challenging again. So with the work of our school board and moving forward, we're going to make good decisions for our students and hopefully very soon have a safe return to the classrooms of Royal Oak, where our children want to be and where our teachers want them to be. So we're navigating all of that, but I couldn't be more pleased with the work of our teachers and our administrative team for remaining focused on the needs of students and the support of our past and current school board members for their work. We know their education of the students is most important, and then we've been handed all of these other things, becoming somewhat medical professionals and trying to make good decisions around cleaning protocols and everything else that's happening. And all the while keeping the focus on learning and teaching. And so I'm grateful to work with the wonderful staff that I have and to be supported by our school board and our city commissioners and you, Mayor, and the rest of the team in the city of Royal Oak. I'm looking forward to working with the city on how the students of the district can contribute to this 100-year celebration. So that's another piece of tonight's news that you've shared that we're also very eager to be a part of. So thank you all for honoring our team, and I will certainly pass along these well wishes and the good messages to our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Fitzpatrick, and thank you for your efforts. And you know, we'd be very grateful if you could pass along the community's recognition of their efforts, and just in general to everybody, you know, from school board members to all of the folks that make a career at Royal Oak Schools. The community values everything that you do, and we understand the challenges that you're faced with. And you know, we put our trust in you, and we know you're going to have some challenges ahead still, and we wish you the best of luck. And once again, it goes out to everybody. Anything you need from this city, just let us know. We're partners in this. We're one team. All right. Well, this brings us to item number 9 on the agenda tonight. Well, first off, you know what? I'm sure I see Commissioner Macy wants to say something. You know, I apologize. I should have gave our staff or our commissioners an opportunity to speak. Commissioner Macy.
Thanks. So we can't thank all the teachers, but I pulled up Canvas, so I want to thank specifically my kids' teachers, do a quick shout out to Mrs. Alt at Keller, to Madam Dunn, Mr. Cousins, Ms. Mathis, Mr. Truitt, Mrs. Schaefer, Mrs. Arcari, and Mr. Potter and Mrs. Johnson. They're all teaching my kids this semester, and I am so grateful for everything they've done. So thank you to them.
Commissioner Macy, I'm pretty sure your kids are already getting straight A's, so I'm not sure how that helped extremely. But
never hurts.
Commissioner Colo.
So mine needs a little help getting straight A's. So I need to definitely call out Miss Patty Fitzpatrick at Oakland Elementary. And just all the teachers, I'm sure, are doing this, but it's amazing. I sit next to my son every day as he's in kindergarten, and I'm sure teachers know that a lot of them have parents sitting right there in their classroom. And what a challenge that must be to now you're educating both a child and having parents not micromanaging, but listening to this, you know, this program. So it's amazing what they're doing. The connection my 5-year-old feels with this teacher, he's never actually physically met, and he talks about her all the time. And I'm sure that is across your entire district. So thank you to all those educators who have found a way through this stupid screen to make, you know, to connect to all the students. It's been simply amazing. So I can't thank you all enough. And the songs are stuck in my head. All these little kindergarten songs won't get out.
Oh, anybody else? Yeah, I guess I'll just offer up great thanks to the staff at Keller and Royal Oak Middle School. You know, and just over the years, they've been absolutely amazing. And all of our kids' teachers, we've always been very, very impressed with. And that's coming from somebody that used to get disciplined a lot by teachers, and my wife, who is a teacher. So that's a pretty good litmus test of you know, the quality of people we have educating our kids. And I even enjoy, you know, walking by from time to time while the videos are on, listening, forgetting that, you know, checking, are you playing? Oh, you're in class. I forgot. And, you know, they're really doing a fantastic job to engage as best they can with the tools they have and the circumstances. And you know, you can tell. I mean, I wish all of my meetings were as exciting and fun as what I hear when I walk by. And I pre-apologize to my kids' teachers for my morning attire if I'm on my way to get another refill my coffee and I forget that the laptop is facing me. So yes, that is my hair in the morning. And I do apologize, you know, both in the past and in the future. So I'll try to be more cognizant not to scare you. But thanks to the school board here tonight, Superintendent Fitzpatrick, and to all of our teachers, support staff, administrative staff. We're really grateful for everything you do. And, you know, we're here for you and look forward to seeing you in person here soon. All right. Have a good night. You're welcome to stay, by the way. All right. This brings us to item number 9 on tonight's agenda, which is the Pledge of Allegiance, of which by automatic habit we did right after the invocation. So I apologize about that change in agenda. But this brings us to item 10, which is public comment. Ms. Schwanger?
Good evening, Mayor Fournier, members of the City Commission. This evening, we had 48 members of the public call in with comments, and I will play those for you right now. I'm going to utilize the share screen. Again, you may have to adjust your computer setting your volume a little higher. It does give a much better resolution to the members of the public who are listening on WROK cable and WROK live stream. So bear with me.
Charles Simchina. I would like to thank the police and firemen, the first responders who came to my mother's home on December 7th when she passed away. A stressful time for all of us, but they're well trained and polite and very reassuring in a moment of crisis like that. The next day, my sister and I went to the funeral home that made the arrangements for my father 12 years ago to make the arrangements for my mother. The litany of items we had to go through included choosing the charitable organization there where people could make donations. My father had designated the city of Royal Oak through its then Acorn Foundation because he was a disabled vet. He donated money to move the Veterans Memorial to its current location, voted along with my mother for the ballot proposal to dedicate that location, and encourage many other people to donate money and vote for the ballot proposal. Unfortunately, I had to instruct the funeral director that we couldn't do that. My sister asked why, and I said because this current city commission is dishonest and cannot be trusted, and we could not ever give them any money again. I told her to inform everyone that the Veterans Memorial was being moved, that the money we donated is wasted. It will now be in an insignificant location where we cannot have the large crowds assemble for the ceremonies that we all loved, and that all the voters were betrayed because they relied on the city and to draft language for a ballot proposal that the current commission will not honor. I'd like to point out that as a former prosecutor, we learned that many times criminals would try to disguise their activities and create distractions by operating under the cover of night and darkness. In this case, the city commission is operating under the cover of a virus that inhibits people from learning and participating or giving input on a critical issue, and under the cover of a park plan where you incessantly talk about almost every other component of the park other than the Veterans Memorial and the food vendors you intend to put in its place. You talk more about the toilets you're putting in there than about veterans. Shame on all of you if you don't change course tonight and instruct the architects to come up with a plan that leaves the memorial alone and design a park that will integrate properly and complement the memorial.
Hello, my name is Patty Van Small Murphy. I'm a longtime Royal Oak resident, and I'm calling in regards to the disregard by the commission about the Veterans Memorial. I cannot believe the disrespect you are showing the people that are on that memorial and the residents of Royal Oak. What is wrong with you people? I bet you your parents are not proud of any one of you at this very moment. Please do not move that memorial. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.
Yes, I'm Larry Stafford. I live on Robinwood and Royal Oak, and I'm calling about the Veterans Memorial that the mayor and the city commission would like to move. I sat down back in '05 and helped raise $180,000 to get that memorial moved to where it's at now. I'm a veteran. I love where that memorial is at. Great location, everything. Why do you want to move the Veterans Memorial again, Mr. Mayor? I don't understand that. Where do you want to move it to? Us veterans, seems like we just can't get ahead of anything. I take it for granted that everybody who's on the commission is not a veteran. If you were, you probably would say no to moving it. I still don't understand why. Remember, in '05, when that mayor said it was okay for us to move it to that location, he backed it. And technically, it's supposed to go up for a vote on the ballot if it's to be moved again. Why do you want to go through this process? I'm totally against you and moving it. So I hope you understand how us veterans feel when we sat there and represented the United States of America. Remember that, United States of America, the people. Thank you. I hope you don't move it.
My name is John Williams. I'm the post adjutant of Royal Oak American Legion post number 253. I'm calling in to voice my opposition to the movement of the monument at the Royal Oak War Memorial. I'll make my message brief and to the point. I have 5 things that I've written as opposing the move. Number 1, it's possibly illegal. It should take a resolution, vote by the public to approve it. Number 2, the monument may be damaged again. Number 3, it is ridiculously unnecessary to move something that large a lesser distance than it is. Number 4, the cost to move it could be used somewhere else for a better purpose. Number 5, it will affect the viewing of events at the memorial, particularly from the steps terrace at the Royal Oak Library. Those are my comments, and my thing is, leave the monuments where it's at. It does not need to be moved. It's an unnecessary move, and it's unnecessary expense. Thank you. Goodbye.
Hello, my name is Norman Malden. This is concerning the Royal Oak Veterans Memorial. This is Martin Hunt, and also I'm a 22-year veteran of the United States Navy, a retired Chief Petty Officer. And this issue concerning the Royal Oak Veterans Memorial is a travesty, and I do not understand. One, whenever the agreement was entered into with the veterans in good faith, and the veterans went ahead and raised the funds in order to relocate this memorial, and it was agreed with the council, and now they're wanting to change it and say, no, we're going to go ahead and use the property for this use. Folks, whenever you're told thank you for your service and then you get jerked around like this is the kind of things that make veterans really have a severe dislike for their local authorities. And I just ask that you reconsider this and try and restore the faith that the veterans have in the council there in Royal Oak. Also, I am a past district commander for Oakland and Macomb counties for the Veterans of Foreign Wars. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. My number is area code 248-767-3260. That's my cell phone. My home phone is 248-624-3185. And my email is unreper@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And hopefully you'll restore our trust. Have a good day.
Hello, my name is Robert Bigham. I'm the commander of the Royal Oak American Legion. I strongly disagree with the move of the Royal Oak Veterans Memorial. It is something you cannot just move with a whim without our 100% veterans approval. I'm sure someone can design a happy medium for your food court and trucks elsewhere. It is our understanding when the memorial was built that a ballot proposal guaranteed the memorial structure would not be moved from its location without another ballot proposal vote by all residents. I do not think a food court is enough reason to move a sacred memorial to a place where traffic noise will interfere with ceremonies. I have attended many services in honor of veterans who have sacrificed all for us to pay respect to this respectful, peaceful memorial location. Thank you, and please put it on the ballot for everybody to vote on. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chrissy. I live very close to downtown Royal Oak, and I implore you not to move the monument anywhere. It is perfect and beautiful just where it is. I believe that decisions like this need to be voter approved. The leadership of Royal Oak has really made life extremely difficult with all the construction projects, as well as adding random bike lanes that make biking dangerous and traffic a nightmare. The leadership of Royal Oak has been a complete nightmare, and moving the Veterans Memorial is a ridiculous and stupid idea, and I think you all need to be voted out of office. You'll never have my vote ever again, especially if you move this monument.
Hello, my name is William Kibbe, past commander of Berkeley American Legion, current officer of Berkeley VFW. Strongly disagree with the move of the Royal Oak Veterans Memorial. I've attended many services in honor of veterans who have sacrificed. I love the respectful and peaceful memorial location. I can't see moving it for a food court or something like that. I understand that. I know it's your city, but I've been there many times, and as a veteran, I oppose the move. Thank you.
Hi, this is Elizabeth Reed. I wanted to call to let the mayor and the commission know that I'm against moving the Veterans Memorial. I've been a resident of Royal Oak for 36 plus years, and I voted for the current location, and I really can't believe that the mayor and the current commission would blatantly ignore the votes of the citizens that they were elected to honor. The citizens voted and donated a lot of money based on the current location. So I just want you to know that I'm totally against the move of the Veterans Memorial. Thank you.
Yes, this is Lyle Mutter. I'm just calling on the Veterans Memorial. I would like to state that I would like to keep the Veterans Memorial where it's located at today, and maybe they can build around it or what, but I'm against having that memorial moved. Thank you for taking my comments. Bye.
My name's Clifford Fairchild. I'm a veteran of Vietnam, and I'm a resident of Royal Oak. I oppose the moving of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. It is a blast in our face to move it once it was put where it is so that the public could enjoy it and view it. And now that to move it for a food court, I find it very irresponsible of the commission and the mayor to want to do something like this. Feel free to call me at any time, 248-321-8658. Have a good day.
Erica Sykes, I'm calling to ask that you correct your mistake and rescind your vote approving the park plans that allow for the moving of our Veterans Memorial. I think it is sad that you never reached out to the veterans to ask them their opinion about moving their memorial and instead put more weight on participant opinion from a food truck rally, people who may or may not have understood the significance of the memorial or its current location. As a daughter of a career Navy man who also fought in Vietnam while my mother was left alone to raise me in Japan, a country and culture unfamiliar to her, I am keenly aware of the sacrifices of those who serve, have served, and the sacrifices of the families who serve with them. I grew up on military bases where everyone, kids and cars included, stopped what they were doing and placed their hand over their heart when they heard the bugle call to signal reveille or retreat for the day. That same strong respect for our flag, our country, our service members, and veterans are what I feel when I visit our memorial and why I am calling tonight. To move it will not result in making our memorial better, but in fact will decrease our memorial's footprint and destroy the natural amphitheater that the library steps provide for easy spectator viewing. Those that come to pay their respects to their fallen comrade, family member, or friend have all remarked at how perfectly situated our memorial is and how it allows for quiet reflection when ceremonies are not taking place. As far as I can tell, a dirty trick is being played on us now. You cannot and should not ignore that you have a moral and ethical obligation to honor the intentions of the veterans, the donors, and voters who thought the memorial's location was protected by not only a promise of our elected officials, but also by a vote of the people to dedicate the land the memorial is on and protect it from any future moves without another vote of the people. I respectfully ask that you fix this travesty and go with the park plan that allows the memorial to stay in its current location. Thank you.
My name is Raymond Lorkowski. I live at 1801 Dallas, Royal Oak, Michigan. I'd like to oppose the moving of the monument. We voted to keep it in place, and nobody has voted to move it. So I'd like for it to remain in place. Thank you.
Name is Luxon. I live at 1207 Mayfield, Royal Oak for over 40 years. Live here. Disabled American. The 3 brother-in-laws served in Vietnam, 4 cousins, my dad, all my uncles were in World War II, and I feel strongly that the war memorials are hallowed ground, and they're sacrosanct, and they deserve permanence, and protect them from the part making the accommodation way around, in my opinion. Winston Churchill once said, I mean, it takes courage to stand and speak, and also to sit and listen. Hopefully, Commissioner
Ron Wolf, 333 North Troy. First and foremost, please preserve our beautiful moss-covered parks small leaf mountain laurel trees on the path from Troy to the Star Stream Fountain. Each tree is an equivalent to 12 air conditioners and is home to endangered songbirds. The present design of the downtown park does not justify moving the memorial. It needs to be moved. We need to assure veterans that everything will be done to protect and respect it, keeping it away from dog walkers and children. This park holds the key to the entire future of our downtown business and residential district, and it's not merely a green space. The design does not take into account the present COVID crisis. Concern for urban environments is nothing new, as all we hear today is how parks improve the quality of life in our cities. Campus Marshes, with its dancing fountain and ice skating rink, now symbolizes Detroit on the media. Add the Riverwalk Parks in Belle Isle, whose historic fountain is planned to be restored and colorized using LED technology. New York's former Mayor Bloomberg and Assistant Amanda Burden have transformed their city parks, boosting local economies and property values exponentially. I see the downtown park to be the star of a trifecta, including the farmers market and a library/community center chock full of cultural events, including a weekly chamber music program similar to the DIA's Brunch with Bach. Traditionally, our library steps have served as a raised stage to an audience seated on the lawn. I would like to see it also used as an ice skating rink in the winter, if the memorial can be agreed to be safely moved. The library can store foldable ping pong tables. Its entrance doors widened to allow a baby grand piano kept inside to be rolled outside and played by registered volunteers. Hopefully, the main attraction will be a cooling LED lit fountain, attracting acoustic musicians and people watchers. This would be something similar to what Washington Square has in New York. LED spotlight our iconic Star Dream sculpture so it can be seen from Maine and Troy, attracting cars to the parking structure. Encourage a European ambience by permitting non-alcohol bistros to put out a bench or a couple of tables. Foreseeing a return of larger events such as Art Speaks and Eats, please install double wide sidewalks across from City Hall on the north side of 3rd, too. We lost the opportunity to have a Class A office structure meant to attract major corporations, but we can still have a Class A park attracting people who, in turn, will attract major corporations. Thank you.
Oh, hi, Mick McGuire, 4456 Arlington. I'm just calling. I think we should leave the War Memorial where it stands right now. It's a very nice looking memorial. It looks good there, and I don't think there's any reason that we should move it, especially for, I understand something about food trucks. So I can't even imagine we're even talking about this to move a memorial for food trucks. But just please leave the memorial where it is. Thank you.
My name is Gerald J. Gorski. My current title is the VFW National Council of Administration member, representing the state of Michigan and the 35,000 VFW members, including the Royal Oak Acorn VFW Post 1669 and its 375 veterans. I'm also a life member of Royal Oak American Legion Post 253, which has its name after Frank Winland, a World War I veteran of Royal Oak. I am also a life member of the Disabled American Veterans, Chapter 19. And I have lived in Royal Oak for 21 years. I have been to so many veteran ceremonies over those years at that Veterans Memorial. Today, I am speaking on behalf of the veterans who cannot speak for themselves. We as veterans are opposed to moving the Royal Oak Veterans Memorial again. For years, the Veterans Memorial was located in a dark alley. I remember that. It was west of where it is now. I remember in 2005, the residents and veterans decided that the Veterans Memorial needs a better place instead of that dark alley, a place of prominence. I remember it took nearly 2 years, anywhere between $167,000 to $180,000 raised by many donors and organizations. I remember there was a city ordinance to dedicate the land, and it was voted on and approved by 90% of the residents of Royal Oak, thus guaranteeing the Veterans Memorial location would stay where it is now, unless the people of Royal Oak voted to move it again. Mayor Fournier, I wrote to you in March 2020 opposing that move. You never bothered to answer me back. That's very sad. Number one, you and the commission didn't care about the veterans. That's very sad. You don't want the veterans and veterans groups of Royal Oak to have a say. That's very sad. You decided it was more important to have food vendors, food trucks, food tents, or whatever in place of the Veterans Memorial. Very sad. You seem to forget the veterans whose names are etched on that Veterans Memorial, who gave the ultimate sacrifice, their lives, so you, as mayor and the commission, can enjoy the freedom you have today. I am sure if those veterans on the memorial were alive today, they would be up in arms opposing that move. You can get the architect to plan a beautiful park right around that Veterans Memorial. You don't need to move that Veterans Memorial. Leave it where it's at. Don't move the Veterans Memorial. This is sacred ground. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Ruth Rice, R-I-C-E, and I'm calling to oppose the moving of our Veterans Memorial. My brother is on that memorial, and I want it left where it is. It's a nice area. It's grassy. It's nice to look at, and it's nice to be able to go there and look at it. So please just leave it where it's at. Thank you.
Good evening. Lou Fleury, 1516 North Maple. Recently filled a couple of vacant seats on the commission. I thought it worked out pretty well. I'm retired from the city. I started there in 1978, so I followed the commission over time. And a couple times in the past, people were appointed to a vacant seat, and they were incumbents, and in the previous election had lost quite handily, actually. So when they were appointed to a vacant seat, I pretty much thought it was a slap in the face to the voters who obviously voted them out of office. And then a while back, the school board had an election, and shortly after the election, they had a vacant seat, and they appointed somebody that didn't even have the gumption to run for office in the first place. So I think just be mindful of these scenarios in the future, because I'd hate to see, somebody that shouldn't be in there. So, and like I say, I'm retired from the city, and a couple meetings ago, you were discussing some signs and stuff, and it kind of made me crack up. It brought back some memories. At least 35 years ago, where I lived, I had a sign in front of my house that was a school sign, a big one with 2 posts. My neighbor used to laugh at me all the time when I was cutting the grass, because I had to mow around it and stuff like that. So one day I'm talking to the sign guy, and we called each other uncle because his nephew had married my niece. But I got home that night, and the sign was on in front of my neighbor's house. And he comes over, and he was pretty mad about it. So I just told him, I said, well, they move them every couple of years, so it's not on everybody's property. But I drove by a couple of weeks ago, and it's still on the neighbor's property, but it's a smaller sign with just 1 post. But I still thought that was funny. And then after that, a buddy of mine called me up, and they had posted no parking on his side of the street. And he had a no parking sign. His neighbor laughed at him because he had a sign and a fire hydrant. So the next day, the sign was on his neighbor's property. And I talked to the guys in the water department, and we all thought it'd be pretty funny to move the fire hydrant too, but that was just a little, they couldn't justify that, so we couldn't do that. But thanks for giving me a chuckle tonight. I appreciate it.
Hi, this is Pamela Lindell. I'm calling about moving our dedicated Veterans Memorial. If the commission would have been upfront from the beginning, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Their first mistake was not telling the park architects that the Veterans Memorial is off limits and work around it. When the designs were displayed at the farmers market, it wasn't presented as this is the only input you'll get, select one. The veterans, donors, and original route oversight committee weren't included in these discussions. The voters and donors had agreed in 2007 with the Oversight Committee that the present location is the perfect spot. It's away from street noise, it has a nice green backdrop to curb sound, and the amphitheater effect from the library porch and steps. Not to mention these varying height levels from the steps of the library offer wonderful visibility at the Veterans Program. And what is this nonsense? We have to move the memorial to keep it safe. Safe from what? The police are across the street. If it's not safe for the stone memorial, what about the people's safety? Moving it back next to the road, how is that safe? The architects at the market said moving the memorial would make room on walkways to accommodate vendors. How do our restaurants and businesses paying rent and taxes feel about the potential onslaught of food trucks and vendors and congestion being in their backyard? And don't tell me there won't be vendors, because you know you will not deny them access. How do you ever expect anyone to give money again if you can't honor the intent of their donation? No one would have given money in 2007 if they knew the commission was going to do a bait and switch. Shame on you. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Wallace Anderson, 404 Mount Vernon Boulevard. My comment regards a matter not on the agenda, which is surprising given the Royal Oak Tribune article on December 31st, which asserts a new downtown park will open in 2021. The Royal Oak website park plans are from January 2020, and there seems to have been no consideration of it since then. This plan is a serious problem. The Royal Oak Downtown Park depiction in the Tribune on December 31st evidences disrespect for our veterans, for the 2007 ballot proposal and fundraising for the Veterans Memorial, and for the goal of having green space downtown. Before you bring plans to the Commission for formal consideration, you have time to go back to the drawing board and come up with a plan that, number one, preserves the Veterans Memorial and surrounding area as is. Its landscaping, combined with the butterfly garden and library plantings, provides a pleasant, nature-surrounded walkway between the parking garage and Troy Street Farmers Market area. Number two, the plan needs to focus more on park-like natural landscaping, making a true urban glade or oasis in this small, it's only 2.2 acres, central downtown space. Clearly, downtown Royal Oak doesn't need more concrete. Reducing most of the hardscape proposed would reduce storm runoff, which is a city goal. And finally, if a concern is hosting the currently vogue food truck rallies, the surface parking lots in the market, city hall, and police station area are ample. Now is the time to rethink Royal Oak, to focus on some amenities that are characteristic of older, resident-oriented communities.
Ellen Kehoe, Kehoe, 2000 Northwood Boulevard. I'm calling with a general comment in regard to the Veterans Monument. I don't see anything related to this on your agenda tonight, but nonetheless, this issue has surfaced. I have not kept up with the park plans as much as I should. However, I know there has been rancor about moving them a short distance toward Troy Street and re-envisioning the space in the park. I am not here to object to that, nor to rehash the narrative of the previous move to their current spot and the vote of residents that dedicated the land. I personally feel we can move on. Where the monuments are to be in the park should not be mistaken for disrespect by civic leaders and citizens. The memorials will get more foot traffic and awareness just by being surrounded by the park and near an entrance point as well. Traffic noise from being closer to Troy Street has been brought up as a negative. It doesn't seem to me that this will be much different than it is now. And actually, it'll be closer for older residents visiting the memorial and attending ceremonies. Noise from children playing is also a concern, but the play area in the butterfly garden is certainly not a huge play structure thing, and I can't imagine there being any more disturbance from play than what normally happens as children and families walk to and from the library. As far as food trucks that may be in the central area of the park, we have food trucks at the farmers market and around town a lot now. Moving the monuments east actually puts them further away from the paved area where such vendors might be. I do think that the landscaping planned for the area could be softer and more suited to quiet thought. Some benches would be nice also. It looks like a type of cobblestone is suggested for the area, which might not be the best for older folks walking on. One issue I do feel should be addressed is the proper foundation for the monuments in regard to the frost line and elevation for better visibility. I hope this will be evaluated by the proper experts to ensure that no additional damage occurs and that visibility is considered. Thank you very much for your time.
This is Bill Harrison, 2729 Trafford, Royal Oak. I'm again addressing the proposed relocation of a Veterans Memorial for the benefit of the new commissioners. I was a member of the DDA when the memorial was consolidated to the current location. The DDA paid for the design of the Memorial Plaza. The monuments had previously been moved 2 or 3 times. The intent was that the monuments would never be moved again. Commissioner Carlo Giannotti and I led the effort to see that the memorial was protected in some fashion, whether by dedication or ordinance. The city manager, city attorney, city planner preferred to protect the memorial by ordinance. The ordinance was approved by over 90% of the votes in the local election. The city attorney has now cherry-picked the ordinance to say that the land is protected by the ordinance, but the location of the memorial is not. This interpretation is either misfeasance or malfeasance, given that the original intent was that the memorial would not be relocated again. The proposed monument relocation should again be decided by the vote of the people, just as the ordinance intended to protect the monument location was. The ordinance should be amended to confirm that the current monument location is protected, not just the land upon which it sits. Additionally, the proposed installation at grade is inferior to the current elevated installation that provides protection for the monuments. The proposed site is inferior to the present location that provides for assembly for the memorial services. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Carol from Royal Oak. In 2003, Mayor Ellison at the time
gave the Memorial Society the Commission's blessing on moving the Veterans Monument to its present site. The only thing he said was that the city had no money and we would have to raise the money ourselves. We said, no problem. We went out and got donations from citizens, C.E. Gleason Constructors, who donated his services, and he got his subcontractors to do their work at cost. The DDA helped as well. $167,000 was the final figure. With donations that came in later, we saved in the Acorn Foundation for repairs and adding names for the future. We had a ceremony honoring our veterans at which Mayor Ellison was so pleased with what the Memorial Society had did in moving the monument to its current position. We then put the monument on a ballot so we could dedicate the monument so it couldn't be moved without voter approval. In November 2007, the dedication was passed by a huge majority. Only 200 people voted no. Since this passing, if the city wants to move the monument, they have to put it on the ballot and let the citizens decide. This commission is not doing this. Now, according to the architect and Jeremy Marley, the area for the monument will be used for food vendors. How disrespectful is that? How rude is this to the restaurants all around the park? These people have been working so hard to keep their businesses open, and now the commission is putting in more competition? So, the commission is moving the monument to a smaller area next to Troy Street and by the Butterfly Garden and Children's area. The monument will not be raised, and instead of grass and flowers, the front will be all cement. It seems as though this commission has no loyalty to its citizens who paid for the moving of this monument, the veterans who we honor with these monuments, or business owners. It's just disgraceful, this whole thing, and I hope they take another look at this. And I believe the architect said, oh, we could possibly work around this monument and still make the park look nice. So please take that under advisement. Thank you.
My name is Susan Duchateau. I'm calling about the Veterans Memorial. The Veterans Memorial should remain at its current location. Please leave it where it is. Change the plans and redesign the park. If moved, it should be by ballot approval. Thank you.
Denise Boreski. Our Veterans Memorial should stay put at the current location. This is why I am calling. As a resident with deep roots in Royal Oak and family members' names on that memorial from the Korean War and the Vietnam War, not to mention classmates' names on that memorial, I am opposed to moving the memorial. It was located where it is after a lot of thought and money spent on, quote, unquote, experts to pick the perfect location. This process took nearly 2 years, not to mention private donors, including me, raised over $180,000 to pay for this serene and respectful location. To ensure the memorial would never be moved, a city ordinance to dedicate the land was voted and approved by 90% of the residents, guaranteeing that this memorial location would be preserved unless there was another initiative for a ballot or vote of the people and approval of the people for a move. Please, Mayor and City Royal Oak Commissioners, don't ignore the law, the history, and the significance of this memorial at the current location.
You can find space for food trucks and vendors at the courthouse when not in use, when events at the Centennial Park take place. Your new proposal for the location, number one, won't allow for large crowds to celebrate our veterans on Memorial Day or Veterans Day. Number two, it won't provide viewing steps that the library does now. Number three is for the protection of the monument. With being on a flat surface and not being above the frost line, cracks and additional damage will be done to the monument. Please do what's right for our city and our veterans. Do not move the memorial. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathy, and I have been a resident of the city of Royal Oak for almost 70 years. I have worked on many community service projects, including the Veterans Memorial and many veterans projects. I would like to see the memorial stay where we placed it years ago. Money was raised. We found a good spot for it. It should be hallowed ground, and those monuments to our service members should remain where they are in the city of Royal Oak. I'm opposed to creating a green space where you're going to have food vendors and food trucks instead of our memorials. Please leave them where they are located and do not move them. Listen to the people of the city of Royal Oak. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
My name is Tom Halleck, and this is in reference to the acceptance of the park plan in front of the old City Hall area. I thoroughly object to the moving of the Veterans Memorial. It is supposedly being done to protect it. That is not the least bit truthful. It is being moved in order to be able to better center up food trucks and food vendors in front of the library plaza and stair area. Putting food trucks and vendors in front of our veterans who gave their lives is completely unacceptable. I can't believe that you would even consider doing that. Putting the memorial where it is now is exactly where it should be, where people can use the tiered steps in order to be able to better see the memorial services. That needs to be eliminated from that plan entirely. Please be respectful of our veterans who were basically disregarded entirely during this process. Thank you. Bye.
Good evening. Richard Murphy, Royal Oak resident for 23 plus years, and disgusted with the actions that we're discussing tonight on the Royal Oak Veterans Memorial. Your actions are totally unacceptable, and here we are, a new year, and more backhanded politicians doing things that the citizens of the city, who, by the way, fund it all, don't want you to do. So this whole issue should be a moot point. This park should be named in honor of these veterans who's given, some of them gave the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. Others were families that gave up their children or their loved ones, moms, dads, aunts, and uncles, so that we could even have a park in downtown. So why this has become an issue with you people, we don't get it, okay? And here's another case where you guys are pulling backhanded, back alley politics on another issue, just like every other one you guys do. What I'd really like to see is I'd like to see all of you resign and leave the city of Royal Oak government, because you are despicable and your actions are unacceptable to my family, to my loved ones who died to give us what we have and the freedoms we have so that you can even talk about this. So I don't want to hear about your goofy little plans for a food truck and a food court and other stuff like that. The plan is the monuments should be where they are for a reason. They should not be touched. And you should just go about your business and do other things and screw other things up, because that's what you people will do. It's unfortunate. I've lived in the city 23 years, and you guys are the biggest bunch of backhanded crooks I've ever seen. So I know I'm going to probably raise your ire with my comments tonight, but you know what? Quite frankly, what I see here and what I've heard about and what I've looked at and researched and your stance on this is just typical of what you people do on everything, and it's embarrassing. When I grew up in Waterford Township, I actually brought our drumline down to Royal Oak numerous times to celebrate the veterans and march in the parades with them. Not only in Memorial Day parades, but in Loyalty Day parades in May, which you probably don't even know what that is. But instead of scoffing at these monuments that mean so much to so many because of loved ones putting their life on the line so that we have the freedoms today to watch you guys mess things up, you ought to rethink your ideas here. You ought to be naming the park as a memorial park to the veterans. Because again, without their ultimate sacrifice, you don't even have a park. We don't even have a country. So it would be really, really a wise thing for you people to look into it, understand your history. And I realize a few of you are older, but I don't think you have any more sense than the younger ones on the commission. But I think you all need to look into history, figure it out, and for once listen to the people of the city. You turn your back every time. And I don't understand why you do this stuff, so.
Hello, this is Jeannie and Gary Simon. Gary is a Vietnam veteran. We are a military family. We believe in honoring our military families. If the monument memorial cannot stay where it's at because of developing new projects, then make sure it is replaced with like or better within the planning of the new memorial. Please feel that all veterans should always be remembered. In God's name, we pray. God bless all veterans and God bless America.
Hello, my name is Richard Quishin. I live at 2814 Glenwood Road in Royal Oak. I'm calling to give my dissatisfaction and I against the fact that you're going to move this war memorial. How can people donate private funds to build that, and you want to move it? Your own downtown authority approved the site and paid to have it. People look and find the best site for it. That was chosen. So people's hard-earned money went into putting that there. It's very disrespectful. It should be treated as somebody's grave site, and you wouldn't be moving somebody's grave site just to allow for some up-and-coming desirable area. So I think it's wrong, and you should not be doing this. But City of Royal Oak seems to do whatever they want. So this is probably falling on deaf ears, but I just had to say this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adam Bernard. I live at 2814 Glenwood Road, calling to object to the plans to move the Veterans Memorial. As a reminder, $180,000 was raised by private donors to pay for the relocation and expansion of this memorial. And on top of that, the Downtown Development Association paid for experts to find the best place to put it. And then to make sure that it wouldn't be moved, there was a city ordinance dedicated, the land was voted on, and it was approved by 90% of the residents. Let's face it, no one can get anyone to approve of anything at the level of 90% these days. So that in itself should be very significant about how important it is. If it does get moved, we won't be able to accommodate the large crowds because you've got trees and a busy street and a kid's play skate. You won't have a step viewing options for visitors because there won't be unimpeded sight lines. You won't be able to provide serenity to those that visit, maybe to visit in honor of a parent who is a veteran, because you've got kids playing right nearby and you've got street traffic, and it won't be elevated above the ground level, exposing it to possible damage due to frost. It's wrong. It's disrespectful both to our veterans and to the people that funded it to begin with, and to the 90% of Royal Oak voters that supported it. And so it should not be moved from where it is. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Rick Sage, S-A-G-E, 71-year-old resident of Royal Oak, retired fire captain, Vietnam combat vet, and I am absolutely opposed to moving the World War I, II, Korea, Vietnam War Memorial anywhere. Keep it where it is. Thank you so much.
Yes, my name is Robert Baker. I've been lived in Royal Oak since 1981. A few years back, I helped raise money to move the Veterans Memorial to where it stands now. I'm a member of the VFW and the American Legion. We raised the money. It was moved to a place that was chosen by the city and private study group to a good location, and I'm being told that it's going to be moved, or they're doing a study to move it. I'm opposed to moving that, and I was told they were going to move it so they could bring in food trucks. Well, the restaurants downtown are already having enough trouble competing with the change in parking and so on and so forth. I know all the businesses are hurt, and I don't see any reason why we should be bringing in mobile food trucks or moving the memorial. I am opposed to moving the memorial, and I will fight that. Anybody who votes for that, I will vote against.
Hi, this is Terry Myers. I want to report on the memorial move. It's sad that you, the City Commission, and Mayor don't listen to the residents of Royal Oak. Moving the Veterans Memorial is just another slap at our faces and that of all the veterans. The memorial is placed where it is today for all to enjoy. A perfect place, I might add, and now you want to move it onto some cement with no greenery, just so you have room for food trucks in the new park. Disgusting. When will you actually listen to the residents of Royal Oak instead of making Royal Oak what you want?
Hi, this is Gail McGuire, and I just want to make a comment about the Veterans Memorial. Please do not move our beloved Veterans Memorial. We need to have a deep regard and respect for these memorials in our country. They symbolize the love of God and country, which has been deeply disrespected across this country in recent times. We need to stand for something. Disrespecting our heritage and the great cost of liberty and life that has built our country is wrong. Please hold this Veterans Memorial in the highest esteem that our veterans deserve. Please leave the memorial where it is. It is the least we can do to show our gratitude and respect to our veterans and their families. Thank you, and God bless.
Hello, my name is Rudolph Wade. I'm with the Veteran of Foreign Wars, VFW Post 2645, Southfield. I'm calling about the Royal Oak Memorial. Object to the removal. I thank you.
Yes, this is Gerald Rice. I was calling about the movement that you're going to move, the monument. We were told the last time it was not, this was the final resting spot for that monument. You know, what is this thing? We just bounce it around all over the city, and by the time, well, if we get somewhere, well, we need to do something, we just bounce it around somewhere else. I have a brother-in-law's name on there, and it just isn't right, because we were told the last time that's where it's going to stay, and we were promised That's where it was going to stay, right there in front of the library. Now you're going to move it again. Where's it going to be moved to now? The North 40? Thank you for your time. Bye.
Yeah, my name is Jim Reed. I'm commenting on the possible move of the Veterans Memorial. 3 points that I had to make. One was this is a waste of money. You guys just throw this money around. That being number one. Number two is I have friends' names on that memorial, and so it just disgusts me that you guys are playing around because you want to. Three is location is perfect. People see it from the library. People see it coming or going to the farmer's market, and people see it going to City Hall. And this is a reminder to people of these people who gave their lives. And again, you just want to move it because, well, it's fun. Thank you.
Hello, this is Lynn Julian, and I would like to request that you please leave the Veterans Memorial where it is. They deserve this site by our library. Please design the Continental Park around this worthy and heartfelt monument. Thank you very much. Bye now.
Hello, this is Barb Stafford, and I'm calling in regarding the Veteran Memorial. I just don't understand why it's being moved without any citizen input. It shouldn't be moved at the library. It's the best place. We see it when we have concerts there. It's there. When it's Flag Day or Memorial Day, we are right there. It just shouldn't be moved, in my opinion. The people who raised, over $180,000, they requested it to be there, and it should just not be moved by the mayor and the council people just on a whim. I know you're working hard to figure things out, but I believe that that's the best place. We're really getting built up in Royal Oak now, and that's still a nice place to be. So please just leave it where it's at. It's beautiful there. Thank you. Bye now.
Laura Harrison, resident of Royal Oak and building owners downtown Royal Oak. Now that my daily life of 2020 has become more normal personally, I have taken some time to go over the design of the Royal Oak Veterans Memorial in the downtown park. After studying the drawings, what is lacking are measurements. It looks like the platform, steps, ramps, and the green belt between the memorial and the sidewalk to the library building have been eliminated. It looks like the green area of the land used for the yearly memorial events is gone. Also, the sidewalk is much wider than the previous one, and the, quote, bumpy materials suggested are a trip hazard for several of the handicapped visitors. I would appreciate a further discussion on these issues. This monument has great meaning for me. 3 of the 5 veterans in my family are deceased and are not buried locally. The Veteran Memorial is and will be very special to me. It is a large part of Royal Oak's history. Kindly do not destroy it. Thank you.
Yes, this is Jack Allen.
and I'm a Vietnam veteran. I belong to Post 92 VFW 9222 of Berkeley, Michigan. And I would just like to let you know how I feel about the Royal Oak Veteran Memorial. I've been by there several times, a lot of times, with our group in the VA. And I really think it's sad that they want to move this, because it's a very beautiful place. And like I say, I'm a 100% veteran from the Vietnam War. And I just want to let people know how important it is to all of us vets, that we're very strongly disagree with the move of the Royal Oak Veterans Memorial. It's a beautiful place, and we all need it. And I want to thank all you people and everybody else that's trying to keep it. And anyway, my name is Jack Allen. I live here in Royal Oak. And thank you. Bye-bye.
This is Tim Luke. I just have to express my disappointment in the group as a whole, that you would even think that what's going on in Royal Oak is more important than what exists. Shame on you. You're an embarrassment. And you certainly should have more common sense than moving the memorial for people who gave their lives for freedom. I'm sure there's some corner of this city you'd love to bury it. You're an embarrassment. Thank you.
Hello, my name is John Galetka. The Veterans Memorial at the south entrance of the Royal Oak Library was established where it is through the work of very dedicated people and private donations to honor and serve our veterans. The Veterans Memorial was specifically designed and located to be in front of the steps of the library, creating a tiered amphitheater setting, along with the 8 benches along a curved sidewalk under a tree-lined canopy, as a dedicated community asset for the many events in which we come together to honor those who have sacrificed their lives. To move and place it in the new park to be next to Troy Street in the northeast quadrant that is 70% concrete would be costly, spending a couple $100,000 to physically move it, as well as reimbursing the $180,000 previously paid by residents for the spot it is in. As it is, the project in front of the Boji building is less of a park than a means to spend a $5 million budget on 15 types of concrete and pavers, with 10% of whatever costs going to no-bid architects. The present City Council is choosing to destroy the amphitheater setting of the Veterans Memorial as a well-planned and dedicated public asset it is, whether or not they recognize it with their own eyes or hearts, to be replaced by concrete for tables and food vendors. The new proposed location next to Troy Street, 8 feet from the busy sidewalk, is as disrespectful as it gets. Don't move the Veterans Memorial. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Gail Mack at 4312 Beverly Court. And as a resident of Royal Oak, I have attended Memorial Day activities, from the bustle of the pancake breakfast, followed by a brisk walk to ensure my spot along the parade route, and then back to the steps of the library to witness a solemn and patriotic ceremony to honor our military veterans. The location of the Veterans Memorial on this pathway invites notice from passersby, yet is set back for peaceful private moments, and can also be center stage for ceremonies with easy viewing from the porch and the library steps. I've learned that this location was carefully selected to meet these needs and more, with additional research assistance from the DDA, with private funds from private donations, and needed a vote by the residents. According to the city ordinance, this is a dedicated location not to be moved without proper procedure. This permanent Veterans Memorial, with its stone monuments and landscape details, has been designed and placed with reverence. Please don't take liberties and attempt to move this memorial to a less respectful location to fit your plan. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Kathleen Marcaccio. I am a nearly 40-year resident of Royal Oak, and I implore the City Commission to not move the Veterans Memorial from its current location. The proposed site is totally inadequate. It's off to the side. It is near the butterfly garden. They don't need people walking around it. Our veterans should not be trivialized by putting the memorial over there near the road, near the library building itself. People who want to come and honor our veterans, whether it's just an individual, should have a place of reverence, a place that's open and amenable to them paying tribute. And the larger gatherings that we need for our veterans should not be ignored either. Cramming them over near the library, near the sidewalk and the road, not good. So I implore you to please reconsider your decision and leave the memorial where it currently is. Not to mention that the Royal Oak voters voted to put it in that location. It should not be moved. Thank you.
Greg Stanilecho, veterans need our help. The fact that you want us to believe that you're moving the Veterans Memorial to protect it is your first line of BS. But it's only the beginning of your blatant lies. Veterans have not approved your plan, as you so tell all the media and try to tell us. A couple of your dark hat vets have, but in general, none of the veterans associations, none of the acting military, nobody has approved this plan or thinks it's a good deal. In 2005 through about 2007, the city was in similar straits that it is today. Didn't have a pot to piss in, didn't have any money to support or move the Veterans Memorial or build it. So they went out to the public, and the general public made donations in excess of hundreds of thousands of dollars to the city to create the current Veterans Memorial and dedicate the land that it's on. Very similar today, you're running a structural deficit. You don't have a pot to piss in, but yet you continue your spending spree and refuse to do the right thing for people that have given their blood to allow you to do what you do today. That's typically the BS line that's led by Pat Perush, who's been delivering the lies for this commission for some time, just like she did with the no bid contract several years back. First saying there weren't any and then telling us all how good they were for us. Anyone that looks at your plan can immediately conclude that the memorial being moved and minimized is not in the best interest of veterans. It's been in the best interest of you creating a park where you can put food trucks and seating and picnic tables, etc., having nothing to do with the veterans. Only an idiot would believe that it's being moved to protect it. But you will continue with the deception and telling us all what you think we need to hear rather than doing the right thing. You need to remember, veterans gave their blood to allow you to sit at the commission. Veterans gave their life to protect liberty, freedom, and the American way of life. And you, by making these blatant moves to disrespect the Veterans Memorial, will now all have blood on your hands. Very simply, patriots versus evil. That's where you're leading this. Have a great evening.
Mayor Fournier and members of the City Commission, that concludes the public comment called in today.
Oh my, thank you, Ms. Schwanger. I appreciate you going through the effort of having to go through those one by one via email. You know, I think it's worth mentioning, and I think it's worth saying, you know, we're very grateful for everybody who calls in to public, especially the veterans that had an opportunity to call in tonight and express their thoughtful insights and make, you know, productive remarks. You know, certainly I apologize on behalf of some of our citizens who, you know, made some baseless accusations, insults, and certainly led with a lot of misinformation that really drown out the voices of people that, have some questions and have some concerns, and certainly understand that the uncomfortableness that comes with moving a monument. And so, we are grateful for those who enter and engage in productive dialogue in our community. It's why we're strong. Also, everybody up here and all the hundreds of citizens and the countless input sessions we've had over the years about the design of the park and the Veterans Memorial being a center discussion point, certainly empathize with the concerns of people that may not agree with the improvements that are going to come to the memorial. We're talking about moving, and again, there's some information out there that I want to help correct. We're talking about moving the memorial tens of feet to better fit into the new dynamic in downtown that will allow a more respectful place for it, that will allow for it to be preserved and respected in a way, than its current location. And as has been mentioned in public comment, originally this memorial had been moved, and certainly we have great respect and empathy, and certainly thanks to those who were able to move it from a dark alley area to its current location today. And it's incumbent upon every generation to make improvements as well. With this memorial, I remember a while ago, and it's not unknown that the city spends money to improve the memorial. Certainly we've done repair work on it. John Wendling came to me and said, "Hey, we have these trees that are behind the memorial, and we've tried everything. We can't keep the birds out of the trees, and the droppings are landing on the memorial, on the names of our honored." And together we came up with a plan, and as much as we are a tree loving city and we want to work hard to preserve every tree, we understood our inability to prevent these birds from hurting in this area and doing their droppings, and we spent the money and took the pressure to cut down those trees and make sure that in fact we dignified the hollow ground that this memorial stands on. This is the same commission that we're working very cooperatively and have committed resources and funding to the World War II Veterans Memorial that's coming to Memorial Park. So it's not unusual for the city to expend revenues and dollars to promote veterans memorials and to fix and remedy and improve veterans memorials in this community. But again, it doesn't go without saying we do empathize with the efforts of so many that we're able to take the memorial where it is today and move it to an area that is more dignified. And it's not moving from that area. I think there's some confusion in the call that the area that was designated for the memorial, voted in by voters, is the area that the memorial will remain. And our city attorney, Mr. Gillum, our previous city attorney, has gone over this in excruciating. In fact, he wrote the ordinance that was voted on, that was put into law, and that it remains here today, that is keeping the memorial exactly where we want it, is right there in downtown. So some things have changed in the community. We're going to have we're going to have a lot more visitors in our community. We've seen increased people coming to our town. The new medical facility will not only be great for our residents to get treated, but it will bring people in from the outside, which will visit our businesses, our retail shops. And so we want to make sure that, if there is an improvement that needs to be made, that we're doing it. And we've done it in a consultation with so many people on this. And I understand not everyone's going to agree on every decision, but, I urge you and beg you that, just because somebody may disagree with, a point of view doesn't mean that they're disrespectful about one group, or they're they don't care about veterans. I would think this commission has proven the contrary in that regard, and I think there's little place in public discussion for those sorts of words and accusations. I think a lot of this, there were some familiar voices that I heard, in the public comment, and we've seen this time and time again with a lot of issues that seem to get a tremendous amount of misinformation behind them. And so I do empathize with the people that took the time to call in this evening that, frankly, had bad information. We know where it's originating from. We know and understand, some disgruntled people that are behind it. And I'll let Commissioner Perush, I know she was making some notes, and she was actually on the Downtown Park Commission, and I'll afford her the opportunity to clear up a lot of that misinformation. But throughout all of these discussions, I think it's really important as a community that we remain respectful and we keep the dialogue open, and we respect the opinions of others, and we don't cast shadows and doubt on other people we may disagree with. And most importantly, especially after what we all witnessed last week at our Capitol, making sure that we correct misinformation and making sure that we do our part to make sure we understand what the true information is. May not change our opinions, but if we're using that to base our opinion, like I believe many people did tonight in this public comment, and in fact, many people have called in on other topics where misinformation is being perpetuated by a handful of individuals. We can't stand for that as a community. We're weakened by it, and we have to reject the purposeful disinformation campaigns that may, affect how we feel about each other in this community. It's just we can't let that erode the trust we have in each other. And food trucks. What are we talking about here? This is an outright lie. I can tell you, I had a business owner ask me about rumors purposely being spread about such a topic, and it took me so off guard. I couldn't even joke about it. I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. This is all rumor. In fact, it would be contrary to every single action we have taken as a commission to support our local business. I had no idea that it was in conjunction with this disinformation campaign that appears to have taken place relative to this decision regarding the war memorial. Now I'm connecting the dots, and it sounds like, the folks are out, the same folks I imagine that said the farmer's market is closing. It is not closing. It is open. The same folks that said that there were going to be 50 marijuana retail establishments, mega establishments, 5-story malls on Woodward Avenue that aren't, and are in direct conflict with reality, truth, and everything that this commission has stated. So, I think it's important that people understand this commission understands, empathizes, and values public input. And I think Commissioner Perush is going to go through and kind of talk about how we gathered that input. And we totally understand that not any singular decision we make is going to be loved, accepted, or rejoiced by any and all members of our community. But, we have to have respect for each other. We have to understand where we're coming from. And even though we have different points of view, and we have, different decisions to make, and we may not like a decision one body makes or the other, we still have to respect where they're coming from. And in this particular case, through community input and feedback, we got to the point where we are today, and it's not to support food trucks. This is just ludicrous. It really is in the spirit of making sure that, we make improvements and that we respect those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, and that we do things in a way that, can kind of, keep our city moving forward and respect and value the things that matter to us. And while we understand some people may disagree with these decisions that don't come easy, it's important that we have a level of respect and discourse that's productive, and we don't, spread misinformation that can be really destructive for our community relationship. So, Commissioner Perush, I'll ask if you can spend a few moments providing and maybe shedding a little bit more light on some of the situation related to how we got to where we are today. And if you were making some pretty good notes there, maybe take the opportunity to correct some of the bad information that seems to be perpetrated by the usual suspects. Once again, on another topic that makes it distracting to have honest conversations. Commissioner Perush. Commissioner Perush, can you unmute? I'm sorry.
I always get called on that. And you can, make as much fun of me as you want, because it's appropriate to do that, because I always forget to unmute. What I was starting to say is that this is another instance where it's discouraging to have to spend an awful lot of time when there are some really significant, important issues in front of us, untangling and combating the misinformation that is being spread out there. And it's being spread by the usual suspects, the people who have an agenda and who want to do this and who want to get people upset and angry and riled up about a particular point of view. And we have to spend a lot of time combating that. And that's unfortunate. It's not fair to anybody else other than the citizens of the community who are getting bad information. So let me just take a minute or two just to kind of correct some of the misinformation. It clearly was spread by one or two individuals because we heard the same talking points almost identically through so many of these comments this evening, based on really bad information. First of all, let me explain the ballot issue. This was on the ballot, as many have said, in 2007, and it was an ordinance, and it was voted and approved very handily by most of the people who voted for it, about 90%. But the ballot issue in the ordinance that was created did not say, and was never intended to say, according to the person who drafted it, which is our former city attorney, that the memorial monument itself can never be moved and it can never be changed from the exact footprint location where it is now. What the ordinance created was a memorial plaza area. And that plaza, and I'm going to read you from the ordinance, says, the following portion of the Barbara A. Hallman Memorial Plaza is designated for continued use as a memorial honoring members of the American and Canadian Armed Forces who have lost their lives in service to this country. And then it goes on to give a legal description. And the legal description of that memorial area is not just the footprint of where the memorial is right now. It is the entire area that stretches from Troy Street all the way over to William Street, which is where the big statue is right now as a reference point, on the east and west. And on the north side, it extends from where the library steps end. And then on the south side, it extends all the way to where the police station parking lot begins, where the grassy area ends and the police station parking lot begins. The memorial backs up to that southern boundary of the memorial area. That memorial area is about a fifth of an acre. It's that large grassy area, as well as the library walkway that's in front of the library, extending all the way to Troy Street. That's the memorial area that was dedicated to be used for the memorial that we have in the community, not just the footprint. And the city attorney has said to us, as long as you leave the memorials within that large memorial area, you are complying with the ordinance that the voters approved. And what is going to happen, and it is going to happen, is that the memorial is going to be moved about 35 feet east from where it is now. It's still going to be within the dedicated memorial area. It's still going to comply with the wish of the voters that it stay within that memorial area. It's just going to move 35 feet east. That's it. So that's the ballot issue. Secondly, let's come back to the funded part. People were saying in their comments, oh, the citizens raised $180,000 for this. No, they did not. They did not. This project was primarily funded by the Downtown Development Authority. The Memorial Society at the time, and back in 2005, did approach the city and talk about this because there was a groundswell of people who wanted to move the memorials from where they were. They were in a bad location at the edge of that parking lot at 2nd Street. But the city, as some people have pointed out, didn't have any money. So they went to the Downtown Development Authority. According to the Downtown Authority minutes, on January 19th, the Memorial Society approached the Downtown Development Authority for funds and assistance to move the memorials to a different location. And the Memorial Society said at that time, we think we can raise about $20,000. This is our guess. And we think it's going to cost a little bit more than that to move the memorials. Could you help us out? And then in June of that year, June 15th, they came back to the Downtown Development Authority, according to those minutes, and said that they had raised $20,000 and that there was another $2,500 commitment from someone else to donate the concrete. That's not an insignificant amount. That's a heck of a lot of money to raise in donations in a 6-month period. That's very commendable. However, The Downtown Development Authority knew that it was going to cost a whole lot more than that. And so what they did in July, the next month, is they voted to hire a design firm to find a location and to design a preliminary design of a moved location. And they allocated $7,500 to $10,000. That's what their estimate was that they would have to spend for that design work. In August of that year, in 2005, they selected the Michael J. Doolin associate firm to design, including an electrical system and underground utilities for a memorial in that general location at a cost not to exceed $20,000. And then in April of 2006, the Downtown Development Authority committed to spend not to exceed $108,000 to move the memorial and to create a memorial space where it is now. Since then, they have paid, the DDA has paid for landscaping, they have paid for lighting, they have paid for repairs. So far, they have paid, and this is where one of the commenters got this number, the Downtown Development Authority has committed to this project $167,000 of the total $180,000 cost of the project. So far, in terms of what money has been spent and was spent in that period of time, the DDA contributed about 85% of it, and citizen contributions contributed $25,000, which, as I say, is not a small amount, but that's only about 15% of the overall cost. So when this issue of do we move the memorial or what do we do with the memorial came up, the Downtown Development Authority was very involved with that decision because they had paid to put it where it was for the most part. And they will pay for the construction of the park, of the new park this summer, and say that they will pay for the moving of the memorial because it is going to move. So that's just an explanation of the funding issue. In terms of the design process, this design process started back in 2017 when this task force was appointed. And we contracted with Noack and Frost to do a very, very aggressive public engagement process. And they did that not only by doing some polling, but they also took pads of paper out to public events like Arts Meets and Eats and the food truck rallies. And I'll get to the food truck issue. Just to get public comments about what would you like to see in the downtown park? What would you not like to see in the downtown park? Over the period of maybe 12 months, Noack and Frost accumulated comments, designs, drawings, so even from some school children, about what people would want to see and not want to see in the park. 1,500 individual public comments they accumulated. 1,500. That's an enormous amount of public comment and public engagement in terms of designing a 1 acre park. But it was a very interesting process. Once they had all of that information, we turned it over to the architects and designers of the park. And they took all of that information and came up with a variety of scenarios. And the downtown park first, in conjunction with the architect, kind of winnowed those down to the key elements that the public wanted to see in the park. And one of those elements that was key was keep the memorial. You might have to move it, but boy, treat it with respect, and it better look pretty darn good when you're done, because we wanted to stay in the park. And so that was an aspect of a component of the park design that the task force took very seriously. The design itself, in terms of how it will impact where the memorial is currently, is dependent in some ways on the Henry Ford facility, which is right there and is going to open probably in June or July this year. What is going to be on the east side of the Henry Ford building, between where it is now and where the old City Hall is now, is a very wide walkway, because there's going to be an entrance to the Henry Ford facility facing east. The main entrance is going to face the parking structure, but there's also going to be an entrance on that east side. And there's going to be a very large walkway, wide walkway, by code, it has to be this way, that is going to go through there and then stretch all the way, eventually, past the library toward the parking structure. And what is going to be right in the middle of that walkway, if it doesn't move, is the memorial. And so, taking that into consideration, the task force said, we want to keep the memorial, certainly the memorial plaque that was voted on by the voters, but we've got to move it out of the way of that large pedestrian, which is going to be very busy once the Henry Ford facility opens, out of the way so that it doesn't get damaged. People are talking about, oh, the setting is perfect and the setting is beautiful and we can't get rid of that. It's going to change. When the Henry Ford opens and the city hall and the police station and the existing parking deck or the parking lot come down and get eliminated, it's going to look very different. It's not going to look like this cozy little corner like it looks now. It's going to be wide open, and running right into the back of it, unless we move it, is this walkway that's going to be in front of the Henry Ford. And so, taking that design element in mind, the vote of the task force and the DDA was to move it over 35 feet to get it out of the way of that walkway. It's still in front of the library. It still will be redesigned with foliage and trees and lots of things around it so that it looks cozy. But it's got to move in order to be protected. And that's why that was the main reason why the task force recommended, and everyone concurred, that's why it had to move. It had to get out of that way of that large walkway because there's going to be a lot of traffic there. And when the park opens, it's not only going to be pedestrians, it's going to be skateboarders and bikers and everybody else using that walkway. And in terms of the concrete that is going to be in front of it, that was another issue that we discussed a great deal. And we decided that it's appropriate to put a concrete pad in front of that relocated memorial location because of the difficulty of people with mobility issues, people on walkers and wheelchairs, in getting an approach to the existing memorial currently. Right now, if you have a walker or you're in a wheelchair, you can't get close to the front of the memorial because it's grassy, especially on Veterans Days when we usually have rain or potentially snow and the ground is soggy. People who are with those mobility issues are stuck back on the library steps in that paved area back there. They can't approach it because it's too difficult. It's dangerous. So yeah, there is a concrete pad in front of the new location, and it's there for a purpose. It's so that people with mobility issues and mobility support devices can get close to the memorial, which they can't do right now. So there's a purpose for that. Two more really quick points. The food, where did this food court idea come from? That was never a discussion in any of our discussions of design. I have no idea where that came from. At one point, because the walkway in front of the library is going to be wider, it was suggested that if the farmers market on a Saturday, for whatever reason, wanted to extend some of its vendors across the street and expand the space for additional vendors, you could put them along that walkway. That's the only food reference I can recall in any of these discussions about the park. Certainly, if there are special events in the park in the future, there might be a food truck, but not necessarily there. There's a lot of other locations. There's 3rd Street. We might close Troy Street for special events. The idea that the area where the memorial is going to become a food court, I don't know where that came from. I honestly don't. And last but not least, the final decision on whether or not to move the memorial and the 2 design plans that were presented to us occurred a year ago in late January of last year. Since then, the designers have completed their design. The city has gone out for bids for construction of the park. The city has received bids for construction of the park. If we were to step back and change gears now, we would probably miss this construction season. We would waste tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in redesign and rebidding and recontracting out this whole process. That horse has left the barn, I'm sorry to say, to those of you who are thinking that somehow this is going to be stopped. It's too late. The decisions have been made. They were made a long time ago. They considered veterans' comments back in January and in the whole design process. Everyone who spoke tonight had an opportunity to comment on the design process. I honestly don't remember seeing any of your names and any of the people who commented on any of the design aspects back when we were actually considering it. But you certainly had an opportunity to do that then. And it's ready to go. We're going to construct this year. The memorial is going to move 35 feet to the east. It's going to be well designed. You're going to like it when it's done. We're not disrespecting the veterans, 5 of whom I have in my own family. And it's all going to be good. And hopefully in the future, people will be disinclined to spread as much disinformation as we unfortunately heard tonight. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Perush. Very thorough, very accurate, and the truth sometimes is doesn't always fit the convenience argument of some folks, but we're very grateful that that's what the minimum expectation of this body is to speak the truth. And thank you for serving in your capacity and ushering and taking in all the public input. You and it's worth mentioning, it wasn't just Commissioner Perush. We had other community citizen volunteers that served on the board that this isn't a commission this recommendation came to us from that board of citizens. So we're very grateful for their service, and we have to recognize that they deliberated all of these things the same way that they were deliberated with for over almost over a year. So any other comments on public comment tonight? Typically we don't, Commissioner Hunt, typically we don't do this unless it warrants it when we have a deliberate campaign of misinformation, sadly. And I think it's even more heightened given our experiences as Americans last week.
No, I agree with having Commissioner Perush speak. It sounds as if there was a lot of misinformation that was put out. It's always good to get the truth out. I think that's how you clear up these misconceptions and start moving forward. So thank you, Commissioner Perush, with getting that information out there.
Anybody else? And I'll just add, there was a couple small things that were brought up in public comment that were brought up in the past related to traffic and large crowds. As typical for every ceremony that we have there, our DPS comes out and sets up chairs. So that I don't anticipate will stop continuing. So we will have places for people to sit and view ceremonies. And Troy Street is not a major street. We actually talked about this in the design of the park. When we have special events like the Memorial Day or Veterans Day ceremonies, we can shut off Troy Street. We can block them off on either end, and there's no traffic, which would actually make it better than what it is today. So these aren't insurmountable issues that we haven't evaluated. And the goal here is to make sure that we keep the Veterans Memorial where it's at, that voters approved, and because that's the right thing to do, and to make sure that it remains a place of reflection, and that just like generations before us have had to make small changes to where it's at. Commissioner Perush went through the DDA funding and private contributions that got it to where it's at today to move it to a better spot. In the opinion of so many that were involved in this project, that is our opinion. We understand and empathize, and we get, the pros and cons of every argument, but a decision has to be made. We made that decision a long time ago, and but certainly that decision was not for food trucks or food courts or whatever crackpot idea that's being spread out there. And sadly, and I feel bad for the people that call in, with that information, because I'd be angry too. I'd be really mad too. But it's just unfortunately not the case, and I think we have to correct that information when it comes out, and maybe even our comm department and City Hall might even consider putting out something that helps make sure everyone has the same set of facts. Doesn't mean we all agree, but if we all have the same set of facts, we can all help each other out and make the best decisions. Okay, all right, well. Now we're moved to item 11, which is the approval of the agenda. Anyone want to make a motion? We have a motion by Commissioner Macy, a second by Commissioner Colo. Discussion on the agenda. All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. I'm going to do a roll call. We'll start with Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
Commissioner Prush.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Dubak.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
I vote yes. All right. Very good. We have an agenda. So that brings us to item 12, the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything off the consent agenda? Commissioner Colo.
Mr. Mayor, can I please pull items B, C, and K?
B, C, K. Anybody else? All right, the consent agenda now consists of the City Commission meeting minutes from December 21st, claims December 29th, December 31st, and January 12th, approval of purchase orders, declaration of disposal of surplus property, Treasury Department request to fill vacancy, City Manager request to fill vacancy, Commission for the Arts recommendation for lending public art for 803 North Main Street development and approval agreement, award of construction engineering services for Crooks Road resurfacing improvements, and receive and file non-action items, December 2020 investment report, fourth quarter 2020 training evaluation forms, and 2020 water system master plan. Is there a motion to move the consent agenda as read? We have a motion by Commissioner Prush. We have a second by Commissioner Dubak. Discussion. All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. We'll start in reverse order. Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Dubak.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Prush.
Yes.
Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
Colo.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. So that brings B, C, and K. The mayoral appointment. B. Commissioner Colo. I'm glad you brought that up.
Mr. Mayor, I think if you'd like to talk about this, I can let you talk about that.
Okay. All right. I would just like to recognize Alex McCall is on the Zoom tonight, and Mr. McCall, we're very grateful that you stuck through it. I'm sure when you first logged into this meeting, you didn't expect that it would be getting into the consent agenda at 10 p.m., but so often is the case in public service. And for those of you, I mean, on the commission, you've read your letters. I'm recommending Alex McCall be appointed to the Fire Civil Service Commission. You know, he's willing to serve and he's done his application, and I think he'll be a good fit. And so, yeah, that's my recommendation. And I hope you join me in welcoming Mr. McCall. And Mr. McCall, we typically don't do this, but if you have any words, you're welcome to speak.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and you know, serving is a very important part of being a resident of any community, and appreciate the opportunity and look forward to serving with the other two board members and learning more about being part of city government. So thanks for the opportunity, and yeah, no problem sticking it out. It's definitely worth it, and it's education every time. So thanks.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your willingness to step up and serve.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Colo.
Thank you for letting me pull that off, Mr. Mayor. Like I've said a couple times, anytime we have an appointment, it's a great opportunity. It's fun. It's exciting. It's a new night, and you get to hear people talk kindly about you. So, Mr. McCall, best of luck. I've seen your name on a couple applications now. I'm happy we found a spot for you, and I can't wait to see how you serve the city. So, with that, I will move the recommendation of the mayoral appointment.
Motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Dubak. Any discussion? All right, I'll call for the vote. Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
Commissioner Prush.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Dubak.
Yes.
Mr. Hunt.
Yes.
And I vote yes. All right, Mr. McCall. No turning back.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, take care. Thank you for sticking it out with us tonight. All right, Mr. Colo, this is item C, confirmation of mayoral commission assignments.
Okay, so unlike the last item, I don't need to talk about the people being appointed as much to call them out, but I am, Commissioner Hunt and I had a conversation over the weekend, and I wanted to know if you would be amenable to potentially switching Commissioner Hunt to the Retirement System Board of Trustees and me to the School City Liaison.
Commissioner Hunt, are you okay with that?
I am fine with that. Commissioner Colo and I did have an opportunity to speak, and after our conversation, it seems as if we would be better fits if we switch or those two committees. So I'm agreeable.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or concerns? Yeah, I think the original intention here was just to keep the things consistency among the committees. But if we have two amicable parties that are willing to switch it up for the remaining 10 months or so that we have for these assignments, yeah, we can make that amendment in the motion. A recommendation from Commissioner Colo, okay. But a confirmation from Commissioner Hunt, yes, we can do this.
Get used to those jokes, Commissioner Hunt.
All right. Okay, so, I would entertain a motion with that modification.
So moved.
The motion by Commissioner Colo, I think I saw a second by Commissioner Macy. Discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. We'll start with Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Dubuck.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Prush.
Yes.
Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
Nicolo.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, we've established committee assignments. All right, and then item K, Planning Commission recommendation on zoning ordinance text amendments to modify tree replacement fees, second reading. Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is an amendment to an ordinance that we've had in place for a couple of years now, and it was some tweaks have been made to potentially make it work a little bit better. And in the time since we've passed it at first reading, and now we've had a schedule of fees put before us, I've had some time to look into some of the other, what other municipalities around us do for their tree replacement ordinance. And one that really caught my eye was the city of Ann Arbor. The city of Ann Arbor, when they are considering how they're going to replace their trees on a lot, they look at the diameter of a tree on a lot and then what diameter you're going to replace the tree with. And then they charge the difference of that diameter. And I think it's a dynamic system that we might want to look at here. So I wanted to pull this off the consent agenda so we could have just a little bit, maybe more of a discussion on it holistically and how this relates to the fee ordinance that we have coming up tonight too. So yeah, that's where I just want to kick it off.
Okay, looks like we have a couple of folks that want to comment. I saw Commissioner Dubuck and then Commissioner Douglas.
I think it would be appropriate to actually move this item to after item 14, because I think both of those conversations are going to help inform the final decision on this item.
Commissioner Douglas?
I'm sure Mr. Twing will jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but this ordinance, the only reason we're approving this ordinance is because previously we didn't have a mechanism to set up a tree replacement fund. And all this ordinance does is create that tree ordinance fund and specify that the city commission will set rates. So I think we can approve this ordinance because the issues that Commissioner Colo brings up are really related to the fee schedule that the city commission creates and how it's structured.
I would agree. If I could jump in, Mayor, Commission. I think the zoning ordinance provisions, particular item C2, just indicates that it's a fee to be paid in a replacement fund in an amount to be established by the commission. So the item that's item 13, adoption of a tree replacement fee, I think would be where you would want to discuss what that fee is and what that fee is based upon, whether it's a change in the tree diameter or some of the things staff suggested there. And so I would agree with Commissioner Douglas that this ordinance just references and that fee is where I would think Mr. Colo's comments would be best.
Commissioner Colo?
Mr. Trang, so one thing that I would want to consider in the discussion is currently we have, if you replace a tree, one tree, you can plant two and you have no fee associated with you, correct?
That's correct.
So is that we would probably, in my ideal world, have to change that portion of the ordinance too, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought was contained in this.
Well, it depends on, I guess, what your intent is. I thought it was simply based on the fee. If you're going to require replacement of a tree and payment of a fee, then it would correlate to this as well.
So I think that could potentially be an outcome of where the discussion goes. So I would tend to agree with Commissioner DeBuck and see if we could discuss them both together.
DeBuck, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I think to Commissioner Douglas's point, it's not just the fee schedule that I have questions about, but the ordinance itself and the adequacy of it and certain loopholes I want to make sure don't exist. So before we finalize, the amendments that we're making to the tree ordinance itself, I'd like to ask a few questions about it.
Commissioner Pruish.
I guess I would ask this of Mr. Twing, because he's dealt with this issue before. How much can we tweak the language in the ordinance itself tonight before it has to go back to the Plan Commission for their consideration and approval, and the whole process starts all over again in terms of coming back to us?
Well, that depends, I think, on where the commissioners want to go with it. If it is a substantial change, I would think you would identify what changes you would like, refer those back to the Planning Commission. So I think you can have a discussion, but if it's a minor tweak, it should be fine. It's also possible that the discussion simply could lead to a tweak of the resolution on the fees, and be dealt with there. I'm not sure where Commissioner DeBuck and Commissioner Colo want to go yet, so I guess I'll make that comment once I know where they're heading.
Okay, I guess I just want people to keep that in mind, that possibility is there. That doesn't mean that's a bad thing, but that might have to happen if we make significant changes to what's in front of us.
Commissioner Newbot.
I mean, if it's helpful, I can flag my few concerns and thoughts now, even though they're kind of relevant to the following items.
Sure. Out there so we can talk a little bit and sort this out.
Okay, and yeah, maybe you guys can help me figure out, maybe we don't need to delay this item, but I'm concerned about the 11-mile property that we're considering tonight that planning has recommended be denied, and there's a tree plan, according to our current ordinance in there. But this plan has not been approved, and those trees have all been removed. So my question is, does our ordinance allow for a loophole where if the trees are removed before a plan is executed or approved by the city, if they come forward with a new plan, now the trees aren't on the property, are they just gone? Have we completely lost our leverage to protect those trees?
Yeah, the only review on tree planting is at the point you come through development. There is no ordinance in place that prohibits someone from removing trees on private property.
Which gets to my point about the ordinance where, we have the replacement fees, but if they come forward, if this plan were denied tonight and they come forward with a new plan, now it doesn't even trigger the replacement of those trees. Is that correct? No,
they still have to provide a tree survey of what was there at the time they removed it. They'd still submit it, and the Planning Commission can decide whether or not it's a significant tree under the fee ordinance and charge a fee based on its removal. So there is an opportunity to do it when you come through for development, but if you remove them all ahead of time and never develop it, there is no mechanism.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. So if this plan were denied tonight, and then in 6 months they come forward with a new plan, now they're proposing a plan on a site that actually has no trees. because they've already removed them.
Yeah, and I guess that gets into, depending on what the plan is, the Planning Commission does have the ability, and they are required to submit a survey of what was previously there. Whether or not they sell it, it's still a question of what was there previously, and there is record that trees were removed. So as part of the Planning Commission's review, they could make a statement that significant trees were removed and require replacement trees.
But that's at the discretion of the Planning Commission, not required by our ordinance.
Yes, it's Planning Commission's discretion.
Okay.
But there's a lot of discretionary requirements in the zoning ordinance that are left to the Planning Commission.
So it feels like a loophole, unless I'm misunderstanding. Whereas this plan specifically has, the removal of the trees and the replacement trees, currently proposing elsewhere in the city. And then that also speaks to Commissioner Colo's question of, I think the measurement of the trees where you're replacing the circumference of all trees removed, where right now we have 2-to-1, which I picked we picked and passed, I think, just as a deliberate effort to grow tree count, to really replace the value, according to the reports that we've received in the past about the value trees have to the community, and we actually put a dollar value on it. That value expands with the size of that tree that's been removed, and certainly replacing
Well, I think
a diameter tree with 2.5 inch trees it's not an even trade for the city. So I'm concerned that the fee schedule that we're talking about here is inadequate.
And that's fine on the fee schedule as we drafted it. It was a place to start to get input from the commission as to where you wanted to go. And so that's totally fine on it. I think the only way to avoid your loophole about a private property owner removing trees is you're going to have to draft a separate ordinance, either through the city attorney's office, that prohibits tree removal without city approval on private property. I'm not sure you want to go down that road, but they don't have another mechanism to do that. The zoning ordinance only comes into play when you're going to do something.
Right.
And so if the project that's in front of you tonight removed trees, that's true now. It's true in 6 months. It's true in a year from now, when they would come through for another development on it. So that's occurred. That doesn't go away, and they'd still have to provide the survey of what was removed. There is record of what was removed as part of this current submission. That record will still be there, even if it's a new development coming down the road. So the record doesn't disappear.
So even if the property changes owners?
Correct.
The new developer would be held accountable for those trees that were removed?
Provided the Planning Commission says you have to replace them or institutes the fee or takes the action to require that.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Pruitt, you had your hand up.
Yes, referencing the development on 11 Mile, those trees and that structure were removed over a year ago. I know about that because our dentist is right next door, and when they were going through the demolition process, he was really concerned about what was happening and the impact on his driveway and so on. So I went down there. The weather was very similar to what it is today. I can't remember when it was, whether it was in December of 2019 or January of 2020. But that's when all the demolition and the tree removal took place. So, Mr. Twing, you said that they did present a plan as to what was there. Hopefully, it's a plan that shows what trees were there before they demolished over a year ago, and not just what has been there in the last 6 months or something, because it's nothing. So Commissioner Dubuck is correct. This is a loophole. Unless we enact a separate tree protection ordinance or whatever, which is what West Bloomfield calls theirs, which prohibits anybody taking down any tree without city approval. This is a loophole. People are going to be able to take down trees before they submit a plan And unless they're diligent about following the rules and keeping track of what was there, some people might be able to get away with not replacing them because they were taking them down ahead of time.
Mr. Colo?
And I think, actually, Mr. Mayor, I believe Commissioner Douglas has not had a turn to speak, and I've spoke once already, if she would like to go.
Commissioner Douglas?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Colo. What may be called for here, and city manager won't be surprised to hear me say this because we've had this conversation on the side, is the prospect of a tree inventory here. Specifically identifying what would be called legacy trees or witness trees. We would need to determine if they're on commercial property or residential property, and to what extent, I mean, what trees qualify for protection. But I'd be very much in favor of that, and that would be something that would help us, prevent the scenario that Commissioner DeBuck has raised. I kind of think that's a separate discussion from what we're talking about here today, and I will say that as a planning commissioner, I would like to get a fee structure in place and get this ordinance nailed down, at least in the interim, because we have developments coming in front of us all the time. And there is sentiment on the planning commission to have some teeth and some tools to compel performance by developers. So I'd love to see a tree inventory and some protection criteria in place, but I would also like to see us nail down this fee structure for immediate practical purposes.
Mr. Colo?
So I agree with a lot of things that have been said here. I think that we could potentially have a permitting process for removal of trees on commercial property, because this our ordinance does not apply to residential properties. That might be the shortest way to go about that. And that could be something we could look at, hope maybe next month. I don't know how long that would take to put together. I think one thing, though, that I would want to look at in this amendment would be the 2-for-1 replacement and then a fee, because I think that I would want to explore potentially looking at a diameter replacement and a fee instead of the tree number replacement. And as we spoke about, I think the 2-for-1 was a great placeholder at the time. It was something that was thought about. But if you look at, once again, 11 Mile, there was a big tree that was 36 inches wide. And if you can replace 2 3-inch trees with that. You've effectively lost 30 inches of tree and the canopy and the benefits that come with that. I'm preaching to the choir here. Everyone at this table loves trees. We're all, environmentalists at heart. We're looking out for the best of the city. I don't need to talk about the water runoff that a mature tree helps with. I need to talk about the pollution that, the tree takes out. But these baby trees, will be great in 20 years, 30 years. They're not great now. So if we can potentially look at a diameter to diameter replacement, then we can look at potentially, better tree coverage now, and then even better tree coverage in the future. So that's I would hope that we could potentially change this ordinance. And at the suggestion, if Mr. Drake wants to jump in, we did have a conversation this afternoon. We could potentially table this. Let staff make, I don't think it's responsible to write final language at the table right now. Potentially table it for one meeting and bring it back at the next meeting with some revisions that we discussed tonight.
Mr. Brake, anything to contribute? I know Commissioner Colo invoked your name, so maybe afford you the opportunity to underscore or refute.
I would say that we'd be happy to carry out whatever the wishes are of the commission. So if this needs to be revised, when I spoke to Commissioner Colo, what I suggested is that that when you want to make these revisions to ordinances prior to the second reading, we do have the ability of doing that. So depending on, we can take another look at that and bring that back for the commission's final consideration.
I think there's really two strategies. One Commissioner Douglas brought up is, the immediacy of having to deal with projects that are coming in front of us and having, equipping our tool set. Maybe it's not the ultimate set of tools, but we've added another tool to our toolbox in the short term. Versus, does it make sense in staff's opinion to say, yes, we understand that concern, but it makes more sense and it's easier to just pause and, put all the tools, all the moving parts, all the gears together in one swoop of change because they interplay with each other. Maybe Mr. Brake or Mr. Twing, you have comments on that.
Well, my suggestion to the commission might be to address both issues from Commissioner Douglas and Mr. Colo at the same time, is to go ahead and pass the zoning ordinance provisions on second reading. And we can actually tweak the resolution on the fees to address, I believe, Commissioner Colo's concern regarding that, because I think the Planning Commission currently has the discretion to, under the resolution, if you pass it with some tweaking, to impose a larger fee on a tree that they would dub as being significant to the community. So in the case of the 11 Mile site, if the 36-inch tree was dubbed as or designated as a significant tree, the fee would be doubled under the resolution that's in front of you tonight to $1,000 so you could buy additional trees. If that's where the commission wants to go. Unless you want to change the 2-to-1 ratio, I don't, what you want to change that to, I'm not sure. Are you contemplating increasing the number of trees they have to put in diameter? So if that's the case, I would almost suggest you refer it back to the Planning Commission to study it. But that's not going to address Commissioner Douglas's point of view.
We have two basic concerns with ICE. One is the loophole issue, right? You can slash and burn and then submit a plan and, well, there's no trees there. Look, it's empty.
But I would disagree with that, and I would point you to the staff report that's on the item in your packet this evening. If you go back to when it was first, or if you refer back to the staff report under an item identifies the landscaping. It identifies specifically that 12 deciduous trees have been removed. It references a demolition plan on sheet C2. There's a record of what's been taken away from this property. That's not going away. So if the Planning Commission says you got to put 24 trees back under the current ordinance because they've already submitted it, that's what they'd have to put back.
Well, so Mr. Twin, what you're saying is we have a previous plan for the property that identifies 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they put in deciduous trees there, right? And that's what we're using as a basis of comparison.
Right. We have a record of what was removed on this property. So if we have no record and somebody just does it, then that's not the case, and that's a loophole.
Yeah. So we have the loophole issue, and then we have the issue where is it a fair trade where I got a 36-inch diameter tree, get rid of it, and then I'll just put 2 little twigs, in a pot in the ground, and is that really a fair trade? And I think in the long run, in 100 years, yeah, maybe, we get better trees, healthier, maybe they're the right, maybe you got a Dutch elm and now you got 2 other trees like Norwegian maples or something that are good. But, how do we create that set of incentives and disincentives for folks to at least take the consideration to design around very mature trees and incorporate it into their plan versus, or come to us and say, I need 1 less parking spot. I need you to give me some latitude on parking because I want to save this tree. You know what I mean? Like make that the default position, not, clear it and this is the best we could do. So I guess maybe Commissioner Douglas, I understand her pain because I sit on planning with her. What say you based on what you've heard? Do you think this, and then, oh, by the way, the loophole thing, I really think listening to Mr. Twing, that's something we're going to have to make a different sort of policy or ordinance that centers around permits or commercial property audits or something, or like Commissioner Douglas mentioned, sort of an identification of all the legacy trees in the community. But in order to get rid of these two things, I mean, I don't know, Commissioner Douglas.
The ordinance that's in front of you this evening gets rid of one of the concerns. You could pass this ordinance on second reading and put it in place, and then direct staff to take something back to the Planning Commission and study it. So I think you could simply move forward and get the issue that was originally brought up out of the way, and rather than postponing it, while we study the other two issues.
Commissioner Macy?
So that's exactly what I was going to say, is that to address Commissioner Douglas's concern and get moving on this, I think we pass it tonight knowing that it's imperfect, and at the same time sending it back to Planning Commission to say what we want to happen the next time around. I also think we haven't quite said yet, because we've talked about the diameter and the replacement and the 2-for-1 not being quite right. But I mean, the Ann Arbor ordinance, I think, has it's like $207 or something, or whatever it is, for the difference in inch. So if it's 36 minus the 2.3, it's 30 inches times 200 and whatever it is. So I think we need to give some indication on that, what number we're looking at. Like, are we saying 200 as well? And also I think we need to hear from some of the commissioners, like, is this in fact the direction that we want to go in? And I, by the way, love the idea of the legacy tree audit. I think that's a really good thing we should be moving forward with soon. But I think Mr. Twing has done some work, and like he says in the fee replacement schedule, this is just a start. But in order for them to be able to use it now, I think we have to pass it and then make some changes.
Commissioner Douglas.
So yeah, as it stands right now, a developer is required to replace lost trees on a site 2-to-1. But that's really the only number. There are some diameter requirements, but there's not a ratio basis as to the circumferences of the lost tree versus the circumferences or diameters of the replacement trees. And I see the sense of fixing that. But in the meantime, when a developer physically cannot cram more trees onto the site, the only action that the Planning Commission has available to it is to say, oh, well, okay. By establishing these fees, we can at least extract some money from them, at least in the interim, while we go back and look at the 2-for-1 replacement thing to see if we want to put some more qualitative conditions on that. So perfect is the enemy of good enough in this case. So please give us the tool in our toolbox to extract the concessions that we want.
Yeah, I think that seems like the smart way forward. Commissioner Perush?
Will move approval of this on second reading.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Macy. Further discussion? Commissioner Perush.
I think getting the language in the ordinance in place is very important, just because this is the season where we're going to be getting a lot of site plans submitted and a lot of decisions have to be made by the Plan Commission. We can tweak the ratios and the diameters and all of that when we consider the fee schedule. And because it's being done by resolution, we can change those schedules every meeting if we want to, because it's just done by resolution. So we can continue this discussion and tweak it going forward into a scheme that we're comfortable with. But in the meantime, I think it's imperative that we actually get the structure in place by passing this ordinance and getting it done.
Anybody else? Commissioner Colo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate the conversation we've all had tonight. I agree with what the decision here is. I'm going to vote for it. And I'm happy that we are going to continue to evolve and look at the next best thing. Mr. Drake and Mr. Tring, just for my curiosity, can you put together an idea? I mean, are we looking at 3 months to come up with maybe the next amendment? 6 months, or what do you think is a realistic timeline?
Well, the earliest I can get, I've got to get it in front of the Planning Commission. I have to give notices. So probably it's going to not get back in front of the commission until the end of March, beginning in April.
Or the city commission, we'll get back to the city commission?
Yes.
Okay, and that's very reasonable. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Douglas.
Well, and I'll do a little expectation management here, and throw a life preserver to Mr. Twing, because he's got a to-do list from the Planning Commission, a number of some essential, some maybe less essential, but we've asked the staff for a timetable for implementing some of the recommendations that came out of a joint meeting between the Zoning Board and the Planning Commission. So I'm going to I'm going to do a little expectation management here. We'll look at Mr. Twing's timetable and make sure that this issue is of an appropriate priority based on the other things that are on our agenda.
You try and get me not to vote for this, Chair?
Doing my best.
Commissioner Dubak.
I agree. It sounds like Commissioner Douglas is trying to talk me out of support. We've been talking about protecting and growing our tree count for many years now, and it's time to get much more aggressive. I think it's a top priority.
Anybody else? All right, I'm going to call for the vote. Commissioner Perush.
Yes.
Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Dubak.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. All right, more to come. And we are now moved to item 13, which is the adoption of the tree replacement fees.
Again, that's some of the discussion that's been ongoing. The staff report was simply an evaluation of information based on bids the city had received for the cost of trees. Obviously, it does not address Commissioner Colo's comment about replacing smaller trees. It just, the only related item I would say is the deciduous tree at the diameter of breast of more than 12 inches, you would pay double the fee under this structure. Or if a tree is designated as a landmark tree by the Planning Commission during plan review, you'd pay a larger fee.
Commissioner Dubak.
So I actually find the idea of charging per inch really, really appealing. And you can fulfill those inches either by replacing trees, the inches you replace count against what you've removed. And if the difference is, 25, 30, 40 inches worth of tree circumference or diameter, whatever the standard is, then we extrapolate from our previous staff report about the value per tree that trees bring for our residents. And create a per inch amount. So not just copy the Ann Arbor model, but actually use our own staff study on the dollar value that trees have for our community and use that to put a price on each inch. I think it's equitable. I think it makes sense. I mean, I appreciate Mr. Twing, the model you've built. It's what we asked for. But I think this Ann Arbor model gets to a place where we're really ensuring that we're growing the tree canopy and replacing what's been lost much more aggressively.
Commissioner Douglas.
And I'll repeat here for the record my interest in a tree inventory and identifying what constitutes a landmark tree, because I don't think the Planning Commission, I think we'd get into trouble if we were just dictating arbitrarily what we think is a landmark tree. So I would like to see a much better definition of what constitutes a landmark tree and who's making that decision, and that it not be the Planning Commission.
Commissioner Macy.
I think in Commissioner Dubak's formulation, the term landmark tree is at the moment removed, because it's just totally about the diameter and the change in diameter from what was there to what will be there. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I still support the idea that to the extent that we have like landmark trees, like trees that are essentially irreplaceable for 100 years. That we build out a process to protect those trees as part of our heritage and natural beauty of our community. And that even if you remove it and replace it with 100 saplings, it's going to take 5 generations to ever replace it. So I think there's still value in having that certain label put on certain trees.
I think I had Commissioner Perush.
I think the idea of a tree inventory is a good idea. The idea of doing a comprehensive tree inventory, given how many tens of thousands of individual parcels of property of a city that have trees, to me seems pretty daunting, but I know it can be done with enough money and with enough time. But I guess in terms of this discussion of landmark trees, people tend to be focusing on the diameter, the canopy. I think there also needs to be a discussion of the actual variety of the tree that we're talking about, because at least in our neighborhood, there are some pretty old trees that have a pretty significant canopy and a pretty significant diameter, but they are silver maples. And when you take them down, they are hollow. And I know this because our street alone has lost about 5 of them this year, either by wind or storms, or they just fell over because they're reaching the age where that's what they do. So I think we need to consider not only the diameter and the size, but also the type of tree. The oaks that are in our neighborhood that have been here for over 300 years are a completely different story than the silver maples, all of which should probably all come down before they kill someone because they're dangerous. So I think we need to keep that in mind as well as the actual size and diameter.
Good idea. No Bradford pears. Commissioner Macy.
So this legacy landmark distinction will remain. I mean, we're talking about the tree replacement fee schedule now. So I understand there's 2 things. Like, one is we're going to make an inventory of these trees and perhaps have a new ordinance that says if they are removed, then there's going to be a fee for the removal regardless. But for this tree fee replacement, if we're switching to the diameter model, are we still also charging more for these landmark trees? Because I thought Commissioner Douglas was saying Planning Commission is not comfortable making that distinction. So I'm confused on where we are with that.
Commissioner Douglas.
No, I don't think at this point we can, as the Planning Commission, can do anything other than measure circumference. But down the road, I would like to have those criteria in place. And yes, Commissioner Perush is right. We need to identify species as well.
Yeah, in the best case scenario, you have all that criteria, so it doesn't even really come to the Planning Commission. It's all been worked out in their plan that, I saved the tree or I owe you X dollars based on this, rubric of criteria. All right. Commissioner Dubak?
Okay, so if there's some degree of consensus around this Ann Arbor style model, I'll move to have staff bring back an amendment to the fee schedule that reflects this replacement of inches either in trees or in a fee by inch to be based on our previous study of the dollar value of trees. And I believe Commissioner Cole actually dug that up earlier, so he can direct you to it, so you have to go sorting through all of our stuff, our past meetings.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dubak. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Douglas. Discussion. Commissioner Macy.
So do we still have to pass this tonight, or there's no fee structure in the ordinance we just passed? Like, I thought that was part of the discussion we had last time, is that if we're passing an ordinance that said that relies on this fee structure, and now we're not passing a fee structure, I thought we were saying because it's a resolution, we can just change it every time. So I think we can pass this motion to have it revised, but don't we also have to pass it? Or maybe I misunderstood what was happening.
Well, I think if we can get it done and get it in your next commission packet for a resolution, we aren't going to have another meeting where it's going to be relevant to a development. So I don't think you need to pass it tonight, but that's predicated on us turning it around for your next meeting.
My only comment and suggestion is we're using the basis. Thank you, Commissioner Colo, for your research. on Ann Arbor, we should probably, circle back with them and double check and at least get, an understanding. Does it work? Does it promote the right behavior? Is it, does it create a whole different set of loopholes? What does it do? And is it effective? And I think that would be important feedback. I mean, we can do that independently as ourselves, but if staff is talking to the city of Ann Arbor, if you have any feedback from, their planning department or the ones that manage it, that would be helpful too. Commissioner Colo?
I just want to add that when we're looking at the fee structure of what it should be and the value of a tree, I personally look at the high end of the value of the tree, the maximum value of the tree, and the on private property. I think that's I think of the best in trees, right? So just when staffs look at that, there's a value range. I look at the high.
Right. Commissioner Colo, when you say the highest value, you're not talking linear board feet, are you?
No, that's not. You sound like one of my contractors. No. Commissioner Buck referenced the staff report, and Mr. Brake, that's from June 2nd, 2017, and it talks about the age of trees as they progress. For instance, a 40-year-old tree gives back in value about $3,000 over its lifetime. So if we lose that tree, how do we recoup that $3,000 in community benefits? And that was June 2nd, 2017, or 12th, rather, June 12th.
All right, anybody else? All right, bless you, Commissioner Macy, even though I couldn't hear you. All right, well, I'm going to call for the vote on this motion. We'll start with Commissioner Prush.
Yes.
Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Macy.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Dubuck.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Thank you, staff, for your consideration. I think these were good ideas to discuss. I think, it's going to be an evolution here when we try to figure out how to best preserve our canopy. And there'll be some change. And I think a lot of good ideas were expressed tonight, and that makes me hopeful. All right, this brings us to item 14, which is the Planning Commission recommendation on the conditional rezoning of 1006 East 11 Mile Road. First reading, Mr. Twing.
You do have a Planning Commission recommendation regarding that property. The petitioner did make a request for a conditional rezoning from neighborhood business to mixed use 2. The purpose was to allow them to develop 8 multifamily dwelling units in 3 separate buildings. And each building would be about 42 feet in height or 4 stories with associated parking and landscaping. The Planning Commission did consider this request at their, I believe it was December 8th meeting. There were a couple of motions made at that meeting. The one that finally did pass was a recommendation to the City Commission that you deny this requested rezoning. The 2 items that were specifically mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting as far as the staff's report were the heights of the proposed multifamily buildings not being compatible with the surrounding buildings in the East 11 Mile Road corridor or the adjacent single family homes. And the second one was that any of the recognizable material benefits to the request were outweighed by the required zoning waivers or deviations from ordinance requirements. And all of those deviations were listed in the staff report previously, and there were 6 of them. If there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to address them. But the Planning Commission's recommendation on a 4-2 vote is for the City Commission to deny the request. There are 2 options in the commission letter. You can support the Planning Commission's recommendation and deny the request as submitted, or you can thank the planning commissions for its recommendation and proceed approving the requests.
Any questions for Mr. Twain?
I do believe the petitioners are here. I'm not sure. I think Michael Gordon, the architect, is on the call, and I believe Mr. Rubin, Scott Rubin, might be on the call as well. If you have questions of that.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll, typically what we do is we open it up to the petitioner for a few minutes here. You've already, gone over a lot of the details with our planning commission. We're versed in our pack here. So I'll forward you, it's getting late, 5-10 minutes here to kind of, if you want to kind of discuss the project, what your intentions are, maybe address some of the issues that came up in planning, and we'll go from there and leave a little bit of time for questions. Okay. Yep.
Good evening. Thank you. We also thought that one of the other options was to remand us back to the planning commission, because after listening to all the comments and the input, we still think this is a lot of the issues we can address. Some of their concerns included the dumpster. We reevaluated that, or the trash enclosure, I should say. And we looked at services that can do that internally. We did look at the height. We think we can address some of the height concerns, and some of the landscaping issues, and some, we needed some time after they met to go back and reevaluate the program, look at some of the issues both from a market standpoint and what we felt was a market-driven project. And we do think we can tailor the building to address many of the concerns, and we've really spent a lot of time studying it. We still think the number of units, the style of unit, the type of unit, we plan to have parking in excess because of its isolated location. So we think that we can accommodate. We actually found a way to get more trees on the site by creatively changing the footprints of the buildings. So we were hoping that you could give us another round, and we think we can make a project that would be very successful for Royal Oak. And as you can see, surrounded by my trees here in the office, I'm very green. So we do appreciate all the input, and yeah, we think we can get the building back down to 30 feet by changing some of our market strategy. So all of them. And that's because of the late hour, I didn't want to go back through everything that I think is in your report with their concerns. And we hope that we can work with you. We're all long-term Royal Oak business and living residents, and we're here for the long haul and the commitment. And I think the builder's committed to, we're hope that the tree ordinance can be tweaked so that we can all live with it. And if you have any questions, we'll be happy to address them.
Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
I guess I would ask the petitioner if they want to withdraw their request, because as I indicated at the beginning, this is a conditional rezoning, which means you're offering as a developer conditions for your project. This isn't a standard development review where it's kind of negotiated out. So if you as the petitioner want to withdraw your request before the commission votes, that's totally appropriate to you. I'm not so sure it's appropriate for the city commission to refer a project back subject to revisions under a conditional rezoning, because that's kind of telling you to change something that you didn't offer. So if you want to withdraw it, I would think that would be your option, to withdraw the request and then resubmit. You can obviously resubmit a revised plan that's not the same plan. You'd pay a new fee, and there'd be a new public hearing scheduled at the planning commission. So I think that's your option. I don't think it's appropriate for the city commission to refer this back as I only say that because it's, again, a conditional rezoning, which under the statute means you have to offer what you're proposing, and this is what you've offered. So
From what I understand and what I hear is that you believe and desire to make a few tweaks to the project, and that's within your plan. So I think Mr. Twing's advice or option, not recommendation or advice, but another option that he laid out is that if you proactively withdraw, then you can go back and submit those changes in a different plan. Yes, you do have to go through the process again, but regardless, you're going to have to go through a process to hear the changes anyhow, I would suspect. And he's right. I mean, I don't know that we've ever referred something back to the planning on a project. I think the withdrawal process, if that's your consideration, would come from you. And certainly there wouldn't, be any recourse from this body if you chose to do that.
Okay. What's your pleasure?
We can give you a couple minutes to discuss if you like.
Thank you. Yeah,
Commissioner Dubak?
Mayor, while they consider, actually, I'd like, we have two commissioners who were part of that vote on opposite sides of that vote. If we could hear from each of them, their thinking on the votes each of them took, that would be helpful.
Yeah, we'll start with Commissioner Douglas and then Commissioner Hunt.
So this proposal to me, like this was a 51-49 decision. I'm not happy, was not happy with the height of the building, but I thought there were other features that they built into it that would make it more satisfactory to the neighborhood. The balconies were all internal. Any windows that overlooked neighboring yards were bathroom windows or minimal, not the kind of windows that people look out of. If this were a commercial building and not a multifamily building, it would be allowed to have the setbacks that are pretty similar to what is proposed. So neighbors have objected to the proximity, but if this were an office building, they would have proximity anyway. But again, the height, the massing of it was what gave me heartburn, but overall I supported the project. But again, I was on the fence.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yeah, I did not support the project, and my concern was, like Commissioner Douglas, the height. I had concerns about the privacy issues that the neighbors expressed. There were a number of neighbors, as they did today or during this meeting, provided correspondences regarding their concerns about the proximity to their property, the issues that they had with the business that was there prior to, which they expressed concerns about reoccurring with this particular project. And the dumpster issue, which it sounds like they have reconsidered, but that was an issue for me last month when I denied it or voted to deny it.
Thank you, Commissioner Hunt. So it sounds like we got a situation where even with the two yays, we're talking a percentage point difference between a 50-50 on both ends. So I know what I would do if I was the petitioner, but I don't know if the petitioner had an opportunity to discuss. And yeah, you guys are on, if you're still discussing, I won't break your privacy, but you're still on mute. And we can't read your lips because you're respectfully wearing masks, which we appreciate. Thank you. Commissioner Dubak?
Thank you, Mayor. And I think, and this, what would help inform this decision from our point of view is, our ongoing conversation about having some sort of community benefits policy where, we can, measure the concerns of residents, the legitimate concerns of residents against, tangible and well articulated community benefit in accordance with a policy that we use to inform this kind of decision making. So whether it's environmental concerns, affordability, the case of a business, is it a living wage, friendly business? So I know I've spoken with Mr. Brick about our previous direction on this issue and hope to see something on that in the near future. But I think this is a case in point that would be helpful in this discussion.
Hello.
Before the petitioners make their decision here, I would highly advise them, no matter which way they go, if they choose to pursue it tonight and they would have to go to a second reading, or if they go to a new site plan, I would highly encourage you to work with the neighborhood. I successfully worked with a developer also at a neighborhood who had strong opposition and may have been denied by this body, and we were able to come to an amicable solution with both the calm down the neighborhood and the neighborhood president actually saying the praise of the development at the end of the day. So a meeting or two with the neighborhood goes a really long way to quell some concerns that they have and find some common ground. So I would encourage you, no matter what you choose, to definitely host a neighborhood meeting of some sort.
Mr. Cole. Petitioner, ready to re-engage?
Yep. So, after discussion and your input, which we appreciate, we will withdraw.
Okay.
Thank you.
And your intent's to withdraw. It's been noted. And so, Mr. Twing, I suspect the petitioner will then, recalibrate among themselves, reorganize, and take into consideration feedback from the last meetings, this meeting, as well as the neighborhood, and come back with a tweaked plan, a changed plan, an amended, well, not amended, but a new plan that is different, that will, go through the process, and we'll see you back.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your time tonight, guys. Have a good one. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. That is withdrawn, so there's no action necessary. That brings us to the final agenda item tonight, which is request to set date for fiscal 2021-22 goal setting and approval of moderator agreement. Mr. Brake.
So, Mayor and the City Commission presenting to you consideration of using a similar format, but yet using remote capabilities. So we comply with the emergency orders that we can continue in place. And so presenting for your consideration the assistance through GovHR and specifically James Fertrano to help facilitate the session. He was able to confirm with him that he's available on either of those dates that I threw out for your consideration, or if you'd like us to look at a weekday, but those two respective dates are Saturdays. So for our purposes this time around is doing more of I use Commissioner Douglas' term of a tactical review of the strategic plan, of the objectives that were outlined last year to see where we're at. What I also suggested in the report that we do a much more comprehensive multi-year plan, perhaps later on this year following the November election, but that's another issue that we can address at another time. But nevertheless, this is an important part that sets the stage for the upcoming budget deliberations and gives guidance to staff on the individual priorities and collectively compiled through this process. So if this is acceptable to you, but again, using the remote capabilities, let me describe a little bit from my understanding. So this obviously will be a first time for me and for two of the commissioners, but what has been conducted previously, that you had breakout sessions where certain numbers of the commissioners would work with staff. There is a way through Zoom. It's a webinar type of format where you can have breakout rooms. And so from a remote perspective, we will able to replicate what you otherwise would have done in person. So to alleviate any concerns that, certainly by any of those dates, we're not going to be far enough along with vaccines being distributed. So this will be a remote session. So, but the capabilities of Zoom will allow us to really replicate that best that we can. So to give you kind of a flavor of how we'd go about that. So if you're comfortable with that, I recommend to feel very comfortable. Mr. Petrino, as he worked on my recruitment and has spoken to most of you about the city attorney's recruitment and knows our organization well, and feel very comfortable and highly recommend him to conduct this as a facilitator and to give you an idea of how this will be carried out. So this is recommended for your approval, and if you want to give me an indication of either the dates, or I can poll you separately on a different occasion if the January 30th or February 13th would work better for each of you.
Any questions for Mr. Brake? Commissioner Macy?
I'll get discussion going. I'll move approval of January 30th. And James Petrino as the facilitator.
Motion by Commissioner Macy. We have a second by Commissioner Dubak. Discussion. Commissioner Colo.
I look forward to spending a Saturday trying to talk over everyone.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yeah, Mr. Brake and I talked about this, and I love the idea of using James Vitrino and GovHR. I don't know about anybody else, but my contacts with him have been extremely satisfying. I think he'll do a great job, and I like the idea of rather than doing sort of comprehensive planning every year, perhaps doing it every 2 years as we bring a new commission on. So that's something we can explore as the year goes by.
Point, Commissioner Douglas, and that's what I was explaining to Mr. Brake as well. I mean, he's had a chance to talk to each of us about the hiring of Mr. Brake and engage with us regarding the new city attorney hiring, and he kind of knows where our heads are at as far as what we're looking for in people and in the future. I guess with the exception of Mr. Colo and Commissioner Hunt, that may not be true, but for the rest of us, we've had a chance to engage with them, and I think he's pretty well equipped to do this, and he's kind of got a feel for us and our personalities already, which is good. All right, so we got a motion on the table. All right, I'm going to call for the vote. I'm going to start with Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Dubak.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Commissioner Pruitt.
Yes.
And I vote yes. All right, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Commissioner Dubak, you have something?
I'm sorry, Mayor. We just approved the 20th. Is there a time in here?
30th.
30th, right. Is that at 9 in the morning? Is that what we said?
I believe that's how you conducted that previously. So we'll confirm the exact starting time. So.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? I'll just say, thank you, Chief O'Donoghue, for being actively participative tonight. We appreciate your presence. We all felt safer because you were here this evening on the Zoom call. Oh, he's not listening anymore.
Don't wake him up.
Commissioner Pruitt?
I move we adjourn.
I'm listening, Mayor. I'm listening.
We have a motion by Commissioner Pruitt. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Macy. Any discussion? All right, with now I'll call for the vote. Commissioner Pruitt?
Yes.
Commissioner Colo?
Yes, with sincere thanks to the chief.
Commissioner Macy?
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas?
Yes.
Commissioner Dubak?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And that does it for tonight. Again, many thanks to all the people that participated this evening, all the staff that put this on, Richard Carroll. Thank you, Mr. Brake and team, for all your efforts. Thank you to my fellow commissioners, to the chief and everybody else, and Commissioner Melanie Hallis. And thank you very much, Commissioner Hunt. You did really well your first meeting. I think and I made at least 50 mistakes in our first live meeting, so you did amazing tonight. Thank you for everyone that called into public comments. So we'll see everybody again here in a couple weeks. Be safe, be strong, and we'll see you all again. Take care. Good night.